It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're live, and it is Tuesday, the 16th day of July, 2013. I've wanted to get her on for a very long time. We're going to cover the waterfront with Mary Lou Henner, of course, movie star, TV star, first in Taxi, because I heard her on a Howard Stern interview a few years ago, listening on XM, where she has one of the most photographic memories ever recorded. And it is a genetic trait that's been documented. It's really superhuman. Highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. Then it has a longer name, a scientific name, hyperthysemia. Am I pronouncing that wrong? The point is that she's going to be coming on with us via video Skype in the second hour today for a little bit lighter topics, but it's still going to be very, very informative, very, very interesting lady. We'll talk about parenting, relationships. We'll ask about her incredible memory and talk about what it's like having that. Because I have a really good memory, but I mean, not 1/10 what this lady has. And she's now doing a radio show here on the GCN radio network as well, the same network that syndicates my broadcast, and her health journey for her and her husband. And she looks so young. I saw her on TV a few months ago, and it's just unbelievable. So that she's going to be joining us, Mary Lou Henner. I've wanted to get her on since I heard that Howard Stern interview a few years ago, and so it's going to happen here today. John Bound had the idea to get Ted Nugent on today because he's got an article saying, Nugent, Zimmerman verdict vindicates citizen patrols self-defense. So I texted Ted right before the show to see if he wanted to come on. And so we are trying to schedule him right now. He may be on in the third hour, or he may be on tomorrow or the next day after that. So that's happening. Might have Ted Nugent to get his take on everything coming up here today. That said, I am really disgusted by the whole Trayvon Martin situation because I'm sad this young man's dead. Anybody who's a parent sees those parents up there and grieving, and you have empathy. And I'm disgusted by people celebrating his death, because I have been seeing some of that. And I'm disgusted by people acting just the same back in racial hatred, saying that they're going to go out and kill white people. And it's now starting where whites are being beat up all over the country. I mean, I've got a stack of news. From Florida to Michigan, from New York to California, from New Jersey to Washington State, there are racial attacks happening on whites and Hispanics. I mean, can you imagine? Let's say if a black person killed my wife, and even if they did it for racial reasons, just would I randomly go find a black person and beat them up or shoot them? And it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I couldn't imagine storming a Walmart and beating and roughing up white people in there. Just because they're white, like they're walking around going, yeah, I'm glad Trayvon Martin's dead. And then I see the other side of it, the white supremacist people. They're all over every website out there. And I went and looked it up. Some of the big white supremacist sites are organizing this trolling. But then we've also looked at some of the groups doing it. It's also other people stirring stuff up that are playing the part of multiple posters, probably even government, really trying to create division. This is a psyop any way you slice it, and we're going to be going over all of that. Meanwhile, Russian bombers are basically buzzing Japan. U.S. troops are massing all over the Middle East. Just incredible stuff's going on, and we're all busy at each other's throats. It's why the globalists are in control, folks. They know how to divide and conquer. And I'm so sick of watching everybody being suckered. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, broadcasting worldwide on this Tuesday, the 16th day of July, 2013, worldwide broadcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs is going to be joining us. I talked to him quite a bit yesterday, and he's talked to some investigative journalists and some other sources, and obviously he's also talking to the family. And the investigative journalists have told him that indeed the police were at his house that day. That's the dead reporter, the associate editor, investigative journalist Michael Hastings, and that one of the groups that was reportedly questioning some of the friends and family was a special division of Homeland Security called Homeland Security Investigations. I am going to fly one of my reporters or camera people, whoever wants to go, a lot of them want to go, with Sergeant Biggs. He's in Charlotte, over in the Carolinas. We're going to fly him out to California next week, and I'm going to fly one of my reporters out there with him to go around and talk to some of the eyewitnesses and who we're already in contact with, and to go and to speak to some of the other investigative journalists that have actually been threatened for investigating what's going on with Michael Hastings. So pray for us, ladies and gentlemen, because they killed him. We don't know if it was this group of Homeland Security people. We just are on their trail in the investigation. Just because a federal group investigated something, obviously someone who's getting ready to leak a bunch of criminal government activity, doesn't mean they're the ones that did it. But regardless, if they are reportedly threatening other reporters that we're in contact with and that Staff Sergeant Biggs has spoken to at length, then this is definitely a hot potato. And all the rest of the media are just like, we're not going to look at what happened. We're not going to look at Breitbart. We're not going to look at Vince Foster. We're not going to look at Gary Webb. We're not going to look at the coroner that did the autopsy on Breitbart being poisoned to death by a well-known poison, arsenic. We're all just going to look the other way and basically let criminal forces do whatever they want. Well, I'm not going to go along with this, and it's not because I have courage. I have a compulsion, a good instinct, head screwed on straight compulsion that most Americans had in the past. That if somebody saw something wrong going on or something stunk, they would at least do some investigating. Because you understand that if they can murder Michael Hastings and then get away with it and not even have an investigation and clearly have a cover-up, then they can kill anybody in the press, and then we become Mexico. We become North Korea. We become Sudan. We become Romania. And we let criminal gangs and thugs rule. And that's why the criminal government wants our guns. While they are buying more guns and training for war with us and using our money to buy nuclear weapons and tanks and millions of bullets and doing all this because we've just turned the world over to the criminal control freaks that want to run things. And, I certainly hope if they blow my car up, I certainly hope if they hang me, that everyone doesn't just sit there incredibly cowardly and just go, oh, no, nothing to see here. Let's all look the other way. That cowardly, pathetic, craven attitude is what has led us to this point as a society. And it's only going to get worse. Are there any men left? Yeah, there are men like Staff Sergeant Biggs. There's men like myself. There's men and women in my crew. They're all, yeah, we're ready to go out there. And it's not that dangerous to really go out to California and do the interviews itself. It's doing the investigation overall, and this platform they don't like. Because other than this broadcast, there's almost no one covering it. There are citizens out there putting wreaths and flags and notes saying they know they killed Mr. Hastings. And by the way, the engine shot the opposite direction out of the car. The witnesses said they saw it blow up in the middle of the street and then come to rest up against the tree. He said, they're coming after me. I'm going off the radar. I'm going into hiding. The feds are visiting friends and family. They're probably going to raid my news offices. This is the biggest story of my life. CIA. It'd be like if I got up on air and said, I'm going into hiding. They're after me. I've got to break this story for my safety. The feds are visiting everybody I basically know. You know, don't talk to them if they show up. I'll talk to you soon. And then, boom, your car blows up. I mean, that's not even 2 + 2 = 4. That's not even 1 + 1 = 2. That's just 1. Looking at the number 1, the numeral 1, and saying, what is that to a 3-year-old? And they go, it's a 1. It's like walking outside and going, there's the sun, there's a bird, there's a tree. They're coming after me. I'm going into hiding. Biggest story ever. Boom. Everybody loves cheesy Star Wars analogies. I'll give you one again. Maybe we can pull it up and play it. Where at the Hoth attack, the Imperial walkers have blown out the generator. The stormtroopers are going to the base, and you hear the guy going, Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. They'd be like going, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. Stormtroopers didn't kill that radio operator. No, he just said Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. Pretty obvious what happened there. I mean, with Biggs, it's more obvious. With all the things that he's seen and all the things that he knows and the people he's now talking to, he's in the middle of it. But how obvious is it to us what happened to Michael Hastings? And some people will say, hey, man, we know they killed him. Let's move on. Folks, we all hang together or we hang separate. And this basic human instinct of standing up for people that gave their lives. I mean, a week before he's killed, he goes on the Young Turks and says, they're harassing the media. They're waging war on us. It's time to stop working with the national security system. It's destroying America. It's time to release national security data. And then this Homeland Security Investigations, a division of ICE, they're the ones over the drugs, supposedly stopping the drugs coming in. That means telling them which group to stop, which group to let in. They're over national security data, protecting that. They operate in 50+ countries. This is the group. This is the Praetorian Guard. And he's talked to reporters. He's coming up, Sergeant Biggs, that when you investigate these people, you get raided. They come. They threaten you. They say, according to this reporter he's talking to, they told her, you're going to be 6 feet under if you don't stop investigating us. And they're the guys that have the black armored ICE vehicles when you see those in your town, the black tanks. They're the winners. They're the gods. They're the kings. They're the North Korean army, basically. They're the El Jefe. And there's lots of other groups, and there's CIA hit teams, and they've got hit teams inside the FBI counterterrorism wing, and that's really the group that carries out most of the terror attacks, or at least provocateurs them. And, you know, it's not fun to sit here and know all this and talk about all this. But I'm not going to sit here and just watch all this go on. I expect if they kill me, or some group kills me, I expect you to not drop it. I expect people to cover it. Because let me tell you something, folks. They can't get us all. And by the way, people aren't just going to sit here forever and watch everybody get killed. So it's very important that it be on record who in the federal government are prime suspects in all of this. Prime suspects in tyranny. It's very important. And, of course, that's the way it worked in the Soviet Union, the way it worked in Nazi Germany, Maoist China. The internal federal groups that are over the feds, like the Q group in the NSA, the SS that goes out and persecutes and things, they've always got the former military, former contractor guys, the guys that pile out of these black tanks, and again, they're the tough guys. Why? They're allowed to do whatever they want. They have the NDAA that Obama signed, where he says, because he's emperor, he's Kim Jong-il, he's Kim Jong-un, he's Hitler, he's Stalin, he's Mao, he's Lenin, he's El Jefe, he's the King Rat. He said, I'll secretly arrest, secretly torture, and secretly kill anybody. And they're in the news saying Obama will sign death orders on any citizen he wants. And I guess we're all supposed to roll over like a dog that's scared and urinate all over ourselves. That's what a dog does. I guess as an American, I'm supposed to wrap myself in a flag, roll over whenever I see somebody in a black uniform, and just shake in a catatonic state and go, I'm so scared of you. I'm so scared. You got a black tank. Yeah. Oh, what am I going to do? You might kill me. I'm dead already if I give in to fear to all this, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not dead. I'm alive. I'm not dead. I'm alive. And I'll always be alive long after I'm dead, because I've lived. And this time, and now is forever. I agree with the Zen spiritualist on that. And so I'm already outside your grasp, done. I'm a man, I'm a good person, I'm not in a gang, I'm not a parasite, I'm not Arrested Development, I come from a good family. You know, I've already said a lot of my piece on the latest developments with Michael Hastings. We'll cover that for about 10 minutes with Staff Sergeant Biggs in the next segment. Then I'm going to get into the fact that the hate crimes, they're all crimes are hateful if they're against someone's person physically. It takes a hatred of your own humanity to preemptively attack somebody just out of viciousness. But there are reports of kidnappings, beatings, shootings, murders pouring in right now. And the media is very politically correct. They're apologizing when they're reporting on it, or outright not covering it. Jogger kidnapped and attacked over Zimmerman verdict. That's up on Infowars.com. It's only on local news. Brothers murdered over free Zimmerman sticker. Probably not too smart to have a sticker like that, but it's their First Amendment. Again, the extreme weighing in on it, certainly it's your First Amendment, but there are a lot of people that think that inherently being white is a reason to die. And the media basically plays along with that in their division. So brothers murdered over free Zimmerman sticker. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office accused of covering up hate crime. And this is the psyop to get us all fighting with each other. It's really energizing the white supremacist in people, and then they're putting out all this vitriolic, insulting language and calls for violence, but don't generally actually carry it out. And then you've got Walmarts being ransacked and people being attacked for their race. It is just unbelievable to see all of this unfolding. Trayvon protesters, as it's called, it's protesting. I guess whoever killed these two brothers, it was a protest. I guess that's what you call that now. Trayvon protesters storm Walmart, assault bystanders. And I mean, if somebody tries to drag me out of my car, I'm going to start shooting people that are assaulting me. And I just don't, I guess it's all happening in like California, Oakland, places where the average, trendy isn't armed or even won't even fight back with their fist. I mean, you can say what you want about conservatives. They've got their problems. But liberals, on average, will go into catatonic states if they're white liberals. I guess it means if you're a white liberal that you've been gelded. I mean, maybe they go through some type of surgery, and then they're selling T-shirts out in L.A. saying, wanted, dead or alive, George Zimmerman. If I sold T-shirts like that about somebody who'd been found not guilty of something, I mean, the cops would show up here. They'd say it's a terroristic threat. But again, when the Muslim Brotherhood murders and kills people, it's a protest. When Al-Qaeda, our government, puts in Libya or Syria, kills hundreds of thousands of people, upwards 40,000 of them black people, it's a love crime. When Obama drops bombs, it's love bombs, it's peace bombs, it's kinetic military actions. Connecticut military actions. It's now a violent nonviolent, as the White House Carney said. He is the White House carnival barker, so he is Mr. Carney. If the name fits, then carnival barker is a carnival barker by any other name. A rose is a rose by any other name, so why not have it be Carney if it is a Carney? A carnival barker lying fraud. And it's just getting crazier and crazier. And I said last week I believe Zimmerman would be acquitted because there was reasonable doubt. I think what he did was probably stupid to go out there, but you got all the witnesses, you got the reasonable doubt. That's why OJ got off, and I've said this 1,000 times, but people don't care. It's too much fun to have the media tell them when to get upset, when to go out mindlessly. I wish people would go out and protest with their white instigators, it seems to be in most cases, stirring everybody up for political power. I wonder if they would go out and protest because of GMOs being forced in the food, or kids being forced to take vaccines that are deadly, or deadly fluoride in the water. That's happening to all of us. We're all being attacked by this. We're all under the gun by this. White people don't get a memo not to drink fluoride. We don't get memos not to take the vaccines. We don't get memos. By the way, I was reading last night, it was in the Associated Press. I forgot to print it. Well, when you print this, Japan has now said don't take the Gardasil shot. They approved it a few years ago. We approved it 6 years ago. They approved it 2 years ago. They had so many deaths and problems. The Japanese government has put out a recommendation saying don't take this now. Japan said 15 years ago, don't give under 2-year-olds vaccines. It's brain damaging them. At least Japan cares a little bit about its people. Here, it's on purpose. Oh, but nobody's going to get mad. You go give your kid a shot, they have a convulsion, never talk again at age 2. Nobody goes out and riots. Nobody goes out and, does this. Nobody attacks Big Pharma. No, no, no. When the media says we all get at each other's throats, and the media then helps cover up when black folks are actually killing white devils. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. For those that just tuned in, there has been some breaking developments, and we are joined by Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, who served in the 82nd Airborne in Iraq and Afghanistan, and since 2008 has been friends with the now deceased, rest in peace, Michael Hastings. And he's the person, one of the people he contacted hours before his car blew up and the engine shot the opposite direction of the vehicle. He contacted him and said, I'm going off the radar, I'm going into hiding. The feds are visiting friends and family. The feds are probably going to raid my offices. Now, don't talk to them until you've got a lawyer. I'm going to break the biggest story ever, CIA, boom. I mean, that's right out of a movie. I'm going into hiding. I've got the big story. Boom. And then the witnesses say the car is driving down the street, blows up, and then comes to rest on a tree. I've sent reporters there. Gigi Urnetta and also Nomi Prinz went there, and the tree's barely damaged. I'm going to send reporters there next week, and a bunch of the crew wants to go. I may send one of our great cameramen, Josh, out there. I could probably send him maybe with Gigi as well. Send a whole team out there to talk to neighbors, witnesses. We're already in contact with these people. And to also draw attention to what's happening. Like there's video that Gigi shot just this weekend when she was in Los Angeles. We've already had our reporters out there. But we're going to do some in-depth investigations on this. And Staff Sergeant Biggs has talked to an investigative journalist, and I know who the investigative journalist is, who's still off record, who was already investigating this group and was threatened to her face. And I've had police officers on, like Don Browning, who had 2 different occasions of FBI coming in his office and saying, you and your wife are dead. You've heard him on this show. If you continue to investigate Oklahoma City, he was one of the first responders. Along with Terrence Yakey. They tortured Terrence Yakey, Cop of the Year, to death. So this is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. And the people that were running the Justice Department then are running it now. The people that ran Fast and Furious, a false flag on the Second Amendment, They're running this now. And so if I die or if Sergeant Biggs gets killed, we didn't commit suicide. If my car blows up, if they say I commit suicide, it is a lie. I love life so much, I'm willing for them to kill me to defeat tyranny. That's the opposite of being suicidal. That's loving life so much, I'm willing to put my life on the line for others. Not because I'm a hero, folks. I have an instinct for life. When everybody sells out, you get North Korea. When everybody stands up, you get moon bases. You get life extension. You get high technology. You get prosperity. Stand up, create a beautiful civilization of high art and culture. Lay down, sewage runs through the streets like most Mexico cities. I am not going to bow to tyranny. I'm not doing it. And there's no doubt they killed Michael Hastings. No doubt. No doubt. And I've talked to police detectives on and off record, a bunch of them. They go, obviously he was murdered. Obviously there's a cover-up. How day one they said no foul play within hours. I mean, right there, you know the fix is in, folks, when they say no foul play instantly. The coroner of Breitbart, ladies and gentlemen, was poisoned to death. That's on record. And they're not investigating that. They say, yeah, he was poisoned to death, probably murder. We're not investigating. Because who do you think's doing the killing? Now going to Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs to talk about some of this specifically. He's got a list of things to go over. We appreciate his time. Obviously today, sir, we're going to be getting on the phone with you. We're working it out right now. When we're going to meet you out in L.A., when is best. But that'll all be done off air after the show today. But we're doing it. We're launching this operation to find the truth. And, of course, the whole world's a stage. Each of us play as opponents. We need to create a name of the operation. We need to get attention. That's really why overall 50-50. 50% get attention. The other 50s do research and investigate. But you've heard what I've had to say here introducing you. What are the points that need to be made and the new developments and the group that you are investigating that may be involved at the heart of this?
Yeah, I was contacted twice over the past week and a half by a reporter, and she was currently working on a story looking into what is called the Homeland Security Investigations Department. It's a group of people that consists of about 6,300 special agents that cover 43 cities, or 23 cities and 43 different countries outside of the U.S. They have free reign of power all over the U.S. and those 43 countries, full immunity. They can do whatever they want. They have higher authority over any other department there is. Well, she was investigating them, and she had been warned from time to time, she said, and then it got to a point where she came home and her daughter was home alone, and these guys are going through her house, going through her computers, her personal things, her files, trying to see what she was doing, and she was told if she didn't stop, she'd be killed. So she finally let the story go. Well, Michael Hastings' death happened, and she started looking into that. And come full circle, now she's running into the same names of the people she was investigating a while back with the Homeland Security Investigations Department. So I find that pretty interesting that this small tactical unit that works with drug cartels and terrorism, things like that, are having a part of his death.
Well, when I looked at the group, I was already aware of them, but they are the Praetorian Guard. They are the small nexus group over the money laundering, the drug dealing, all of it. And those are always the key groups that are telling the lower feds what they can and can't investigate. And they also say their main mission is controlling sensitive national security info. And by the way, I want to get Wayne Madsen on about this. I want to get his take on this right now. Let's see if he can pop in towards the end of the next hour on this. It's so important because he's the guy that exposed the Q group 5 years ago. And since then, it's been confirmed that it is the Q group in NSA that goes around black bagging people in the government. But this is the essence of a tyranny. And again, I don't want to say that we know that this is the group, but they certainly fit the type of MO of the types of organizations that I've seen. Like take the FBI, the anti-terrorism unit of the FBI. That's the group that pops up, killing cops that are exposing stuff, killing journalists, bombing buildings to blame it on political enemies. So, yes, it's generally the highest level, most classified groups within domestic operations that are generally over pulling triggers, or they authorize and oversee private contractor hit teams.
Yeah, well, I just got an email, too. I have all the names and the original witnesses from the accident that say they heard an explosion. Now, the funny thing is everything we need to know is in that 911 or those multiple 911 calls from these people. That's all being hidden from us. And, you know, they're saying that they hear explosions. Well, when an explosion like that happens, who do they call? Who should be there? ATF. So why wasn't ATF, or why are they not saying that they were involved if there was an explosion, you know, so to say?
And again, they're covering up the police report and have told the fire department and police, that's on record. Local TV stations have reported that. You need to hook up next week. We need to brainstorm on this with the reporter out of San Diego that had the courage to cover it. We're already in contact with the family. The wife of the guy where he's got the water hose on it. She thinks it was a bomb. I think she's on the show tonight, the nightly news. And we're getting a whole list. And so here we go. And again, I'm just glad that my reporters have the courage to go out there. My listeners know that I don't usually go on the road a lot because I have to keep all this running here. But I'm glad that my reporters want to go with you. I'm glad you're going. And I appreciate your courage. But again, I don't think there's really any danger while you're out there. It's if you get any big info, that's when you guys have to watch out. But you can instantly video feed that. I recommend we'll have some instant video feeds out there and other things in case anybody tries anything. But I think what makes us safer is actually exposing this. I think we're all in danger, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, if we don't expose this. What's your take on that?
Well, of course. I already have the name of the special agent in charge of the ICE unit that oversees the Homeland Security Investigations Department in L.A. I have that reporter out of San Diego's name and number, and she's possibly going to meet up with me during our time there. So we're going to be able to press some issues and open some eyes for sure. Well,
you're a good friend to Mike. What do you think Mike would think if he was seeing all this right now?
Well, hopefully he wouldn't be judging me too much on the fact that I'm not that good at what I'm doing, but at least I'm trying to put an effort and learn how to do this as I go, but I'm sure he'd be happy. I mean,
sure, but I mean, what would he do if another investigative reporter had been killed like this? I think he would be investigating it as well.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's just how he was. I mean, he's not the one to just roll over on something like that and let it go. He would be out here digging just as much as we are right now.
What about the family, since you saw him at the funeral? I guess you told me that she's got a different plan to work on this. I hope it's a good plan.
Yeah, she's going to do her own thing, I'm sure. She doesn't really want to be out in the public eye so much right now. All of his close friends and that he grew up with, and even some of the ones over just the past 5 years, they've all reached out to me, and they've been helping me out immensely, giving me, you know, different avenues of approach, people I could talk to, because he knew a lot of journalists, a lot of military people as well. So he's given me different contacts and ways that his friends have given me different contacts and things like that that I could use to help us out. So that's been very helpful. And also your followers, your listeners have been very helpful too, that have followed me on Twitter and given me really good ideas and, you know, different perspectives that I can
Absolutely. How do folks follow you on Twitter?
At Rambo Biggs, RAMBOBIGGS.
At Rambo Biggs, folks, all of us helping, and everybody should be investigating. Citizen reporters should be investigating. But if you hit something big, you've got to release it instantly, listeners. Do not hold on to it. Journalists tend to do that to really double check and polish things. When you're doing something this dangerous, you've got to just release everything as you get it, because you don't know when you've gotten the piece of info that's going to send these people after you.
Well, the big thing, too, though, is we're going to go to a lot of these places. They're not going to know we're going to be there, so they're not going to have time to prepare some kind of, stupid story. So we're going to go in there and just, bam, hit them with it, and I want to see how they react right off the bat.
Absolutely. And in my experience, telling people you're coming with these type of folks makes them even behave worse sometimes, which will really bring them down. I mean, they're watching and listening right now, Staff Sergeant. You want to say anything to the folks out there that were involved in this?
Hey, I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, I just hope all the veterans out there realize what's happening in this country, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of them reaching out to me, too, right now. I mean, you get some of those guys who join the military just to get that, education benefit, and they don't really care what happens. And you got some of the people that, they get out there like myself, and they see a lot of this dirty stuff that goes on, and it really just disgusts you at points in time to see how, we're out there fighting for what we believe in, and then there's this whole, different motive going on that's just kind of saddening. There's a lot of things that go on, but still, people have to remember there's a war going on, regardless of the fact if you believe in it or not. There's still Americans over there dying, and there's a lot of them back here dealing with a lot of stuff that need help every day.
Well, I mean, if hit squads in the government, death squads, continue to do stuff like this, and it's becoming obvious they are, we don't know if it's this group, they're just under investigation by the People's Press, do they just think it's going to go on forever and nobody's going to stand up? I mean, do they just think everybody's going to roll over while they kill people?
Nah, they messed up when they should have got rid of that email somehow, because now that that's out, I mean, it already makes it look shady on top of all the things that have unfolded so far. I mean, right now at this point, they have nowhere to go. I mean, it's out there. Everyone knows this is definitely a cover-up. And, any more deaths happen from this, it's just going to make it blow up in their face.
Well, see, that's what always brings down tyrants, is the commitment of men that are not cowards. And as we do this, more and more people are going to join us. And it's already too late. I said that before you came on. It's already too late. We will expose this one way or the other, no matter what happens.
I mean, I'm having people, reporters from China, Japan, Ireland, Australia,
Russia.
I mean, everywhere. Everyone is, lending their hands out to try to help out. I mean, I have everyone asking me on a daily basis. I receive probably upwards of 50 to 100 emails a day from people just saying that, hey, I'll lend you a hand, I can help. The Huffington Post, all these different media groups are always hitting me up, trying to find out if they can help, if they can look in, what are my ideas, can they help out and look into it?
Exactly, because if the press doesn't hang together, that's what Mike said before they killed him. If we don't all come together, it's over.
Well, this should open some people's eyes and let them know that, it's time to come together, and it's time to speak up. It's time to stop being afraid of these guys, because they should be afraid of us.
Well, I just can't believe, because I guarantee you the way it works now, they think it's actually authorized because the White House tells them they can kill somebody, that it's okay, or a federal agency. It's not okay to blow reporters up just because some crook told you higher up. Just because Hitler tells you it's okay to arrest people en masse and kill innocent people doesn't mean it's okay.
That's true.
I mean, throughout history, people in the military or in secret police go, well, I've been told to do this, so it's okay. Don't they know how much danger they're in from their bosses, that they're doing things like this under orders? Don't they know they're going to be taken out by their own bosses?
Yep.
Well, Staff Sergeant Biggs, anything else you think needs to be added here before we go out there with you for an investigative report?
Well, another thing, too, though, that was interesting. I remember last time I told you that, the LAPD had stopped by his place a few days prior to that. So that's something I definitely need to find out. I want to look into that. And then another thing, I had a couple of his close friends, investigative reporter buddies, contact me in the past few days. And they said, right around 5 days prior to his death, he got to where he started talking in code over the phone. And he was just completely changed. And I had noticed that he had been a little bit different, but that's a little bit different. He's never really spoken in code. And then also in that email, how he uses a couple of different terms that I find to be interesting. So I have an address in LA. I'm going to go check out the place there as well and look around. But it's going to be good that we get out there and do that. It's going to open up a lot of eyes that aren't already open.
Absolutely. Beat the bushes and show the dinosaur media how it's done, because they're all trying to ignore it, the big dominant media, but the alternative media, the real media, the foreign mainstream media, from, as you said, from England to Russia, the media, journalists get this. I mean, just 10 years ago, if a journalist was killed like this, the other journalists would come out of the woodwork, even mainstream journalists. But now, I've talked to so many mainline journalists off record, and they're scared. Well, they should be scared of not standing up. I keep repeating that, but it's so elementary. Go over your list. Any other points that you're going to make until we obviously get live reports from you on the street with my crew, because we can do live video reports from where he died. We're going to have live feed iPhones and Droids with you. So in case anything happens, it's all going to be going up so everybody can see it. Other points in your list that folks need to know about?
Besides the Homeland Security, I've got a few people that live down in LA that are FOIA experts, things like that, that I'm going to try to meet up with as well and see what we can do. I'm going to try to meet up with a lawyer that specializes in a lot of these types of deals and see if there's any way that we could actually maybe file a lawsuit against the LAPD, and hopefully in that way we could probably get that report out if they won't give it to us.
Absolutely.
Outside of that, a lot of the stuff I want to kind of keep
to the vest
until we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. And obviously, you've been out there on the physical battlefield that has a lot of enemy humat stuff going on in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you're not a spring chicken. You didn't fall off the turnip truck. I've been doing this for 18 years here in the U.S., learning as I went just how bizarre this system is. And I'm really tempted to go out there myself. It's just that I'll end up, who knows, I might actually go out there. I'm always saying, who am I to send to Bilderberg this year? And then I send myself. But the big issue is you can pretty quick, obviously, too, they will try to assign infiltrators to us just to give us disinfo or to talk about crimes or to get with your, buy your luggage and plant drugs on you. I mean, obviously, you got to be, I'm not trying to make you paranoid, Staff Sergeant, but just, I mean, I would have rooms that adjoin with the door open between them and stuff like that. Because I've had them break in my room, steal our money. I've had, I'm trying to cover a military gun confiscation drill. And I've got Mike Hansen in studio tomorrow. It was an eyewitness to it. And a guy jumps out of the bushes and starts setting fires, saying, Alex, why are you setting fires? And I'm not saying any of that will happen. But if this is as bad as we think it is, you'll probably see some weird stuff go on, is what I'm telling you.
Oh, that's all right. I'm ready. I am fully prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got more to worry about me than anything.
Oh, I understand. And plus, when they come out of the woodwork, it's pretty obvious too. They'll just walk up when we're at some event, not even knowing how we were there. They'll be tracking our cell phones, and they'll say, "Hi, Sergeant Biggs, let's kill police together," and then have somebody with a camera there, and then put out a video saying we were going to kill police. And I'm telling you, like one time I was confronting Michelle Malkin, and they had people get behind me and yell, "Kill Michelle Malkin," with TV crews there who then edited it and had it on national TV within 1 hour. That's an example of dirty tricks. So I'm just filling you and the audience in on how they come at left field from you. It's bizarre.
I understand.
But I mean, nothing will probably happen. If they're smart, they'll leave us alone. So I'm not trying to dramatize this. I'm just telling people the type of stuff I've seen.
Well, it's better to go in there prepared than not go prepared at all.
Well, I would imagine when you were in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's not somebody trying to plant drugs on you, it's trying to plant a hand grenade on you.
Yeah.
What type of stuff do you have to deal with overseas? You said you were even hit by IEDs and stuff. I mean, is it basically pretty accurate in the hurt locker? Like you don't know of a Village Kids trying to sell you a DVD or a bomb?
We had one mission. We were going through a bazaar in Iraq, and we actually had a kid throw a grenade at one of the Humvees, and one of our guys now is completely deaf because it went off right out there side his head. Luckily, it was down in the turret, so he was kind of covered, but it went off. And I mean, they'll use anybody, dead animals. It doesn't matter. I mean, one time I was driving, a convoy in front of us got hit, and we waited 10 hours almost. It was nighttime when it happened. The sunlight's coming up, and they're telling us to move. I'm in the first vehicle, and we're driving over the Samara bypass, heading from north to south on Tampa, which is a route in Iraq, a main route, heading towards Camp Anaconda. And I'm just peeking over this bridge, and I remember the last thing I said was, "That looks like a," and then my vehicle just exploded and was launched up into the air. All four wheels were blown off, and it teeter-tottered and flipped over and caught on fire. And I mean, just going back to that, I mean, I got hit with a big IED enough to launch a heavy vehicle up in the air, and in no way was my vehicle engulfed in flames like Mike's was.
Well, they clearly put the bomb right on the gas tank. Amazing, amazing. But bottom line, talking to this reporter, she says she was threatened by these people, and that now it's the very same names. Who knows what they'll do now? I mean, if they lash out, and sometimes they just can't help it. They've got this idea that they're invincible. They may lash out at us, or they may play it smart and leave us alone. And if they leave us alone, it may mean that it's a bad trail, but because there are other groups as well.
Well, I also have a retired colonel that worked at the Pentagon. I'm going to meet up with him in probably about 15 days. He's going to be driving down from Washington along with a national security correspondent that'll be coming down with him as well. And we're going to try to come up with a game plan so when they go back up there, they can talk to some of the senators and try and get some of the higher-ups to look into it. It's just another avenue to try.
All right. Well, Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, thank you so much for standing up for free speech, and standing up for your friend, and standing up for the press, standing up for liberty. And anything else unfolds, we'll get updates from you. And I'm going to give you today other reporters' phone numbers in case sometimes you can't get a hold of me if something's happening, because that lifeline of the media is so important, and a voice. And we will see you out in Los Angeles sometime next week. We're not sure quite when yet, but we're going to nail that down. And so I'll be calling you, or my reporters will be calling you this afternoon to get your flight booked and everything else.
Oh, right on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Staff Sergeant. All right. There he goes. Infowars.com is reporting and investigating the clearly mysterious death of Michael Hastings. And it's your support financially that lets us do things like this. Cost a lot of money to do stuff like this, so be sure and buy your Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 at InfoWarsHealth.com. Get the Pro Pure water filters at InfoWarsStore.com. All right, folks, we're into hour number 2, and man, there's a lot of news going on. I just spent most of the last hour talking about freedom of the press and the mysterious death. Well, I think the evidence is overwhelming. He was assassinated. We know there was a cover-up of Michael Hastings of Rolling Stone. Where's the Rolling Stone for their reporter? Where's BuzzFeed for their reporter? Where is the dinosaur media? I mean, why is it the liberal Huffington Post trying to investigate and not people that actually work with this guy? Well, we've talked to a lot of his friends and people. They're scared to death. And you know what? I'm scared of being scared. I just cannot imagine being afraid. It's like giving into it, and then you're a prisoner. I just don't understand it. People call that courage to get over your fear, and I don't even know what you call it. I mean, I'm not fearless. I fear for my children dying in a car wreck. I fear if I eat too much fattening food, I'll have a heart attack. I mean, I fear things that I have control over that I'm doing wrong, or if I'm driving too fast. But when it's somebody bad doing something, and I've got to stand up to them, even though they may kill me or set me up, then I don't have fear. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like I've got a job to do. And when crooks and gangs and thugs and out-of-control criminal organizations are doing things, I want to do one thing, and that's bring them down, because I have an instinct as a man to want to have a good civilization for my family. I'm programmed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm 100% programmed to try to figure out ways to beat these people. And I, in 18 years, have built my own media operation that reaches 15 million people a week conservatively. And I'm not bragging. I'm saying you've got power. You can affect change out there. And let me tell you, it's been great being alive 39 years so far. And it's been great getting to have this much success, because it gives me belief in humanity, and to work with other liberty lovers and people that have helped us get the word out, who understand these basic facts. And to get to know somebody like Staff Sergeant Biggs, who's standing up for his friend and being a focal point to expose what's happening. It's great to be in the society of men and women who love liberty and who have honor. I just cannot imagine being a dishonorable scumbag. Criminals and scum and psychopaths and sociopaths are like wimps, and they've decided to be evil because they think that makes them a winner, to go around and break the rules of humanity. And you people are not winners, you are scum. And that's why you're so screwed up. That's why you have such horrible lives. That's why your kids are so horrible. That's why you're cursed. Because you're of your father, the devil, And I hate to turn into a preacher on people. It's true, though. It's all about good and evil, ladies and gentlemen. And, man, I tell you, I was reading the racist comments back and forth on Infowars.com and the racist comments on YouTube and all of it. Everybody, white scum, devil, this, I'm going to kill you. Black, blah, 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 I'm going to kill you. On and on and on. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I'm sick of it. And then you respond to it and you know, you criticize the black racist and they say, oh, you're just a racist. And you criticize the white racist and they go, oh, you just hate your own kind. And you look at the black and white racist and all of them, they all pretty much the same people. They all act just the same, except it's from a different team, a different side. Meanwhile, we're all going into the New World Order. Meanwhile, we're all losing our liberties. Meanwhile, 99.9% of us, it isn't 1%. We did the math. It was like 0.00026 of the 6,000 superclass that own the vast majority of world wealth, over 80% worldwide. And they're just laughing at us. And I'm just so sick of, and then the elite's answer is, well, look at how dumb the public is. They deserve it. But I can't do that. I can't go join them just because I know how the game works and then laugh at everybody while I screw everybody. I mean, I'm not going to be part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, they are now saying in the press that George Zimmerman was a homosexual predator trying to go after children. That's the headline up on Drudge. Limbaugh's reporting that. And that's basically what his friend who testified in court already said. This is the type of demonization that we see going on. Baltimore witnesses a group of black men beat Hispanic man, yelling. The Baltimore Sun reports, this is for Trayvon. White jogger beaten. Protesters storm Walmart. LA Times. Soul singer attacked after dedicating song to Trayvon. You MFer, you started this. CBS reporter, photographer attacked. We told you about that yesterday. LAPD vows crackdown. It goes on and on and on. Chicago church marquee says it's safe to kill black people in America. Yeah, 94% of blacks are killed by blacks. I guess it is in Chicago, because of your mafia government not letting black citizens defend themselves from criminals, whether they be white or black or Hispanic. They're saying the verdict unleashed pin-up rage. Nugent says vindicates citizen patrol's self-defense. Yeah, we're going to get Nugent on either today or tomorrow. I was just talking to him earlier. He's trying to find a hole. Stevie Wonder says boycott Florida. Doesn't matter. Florida's about half minority, and it'll just hurt them. You know, just the whole state did it now. You know, burn the whole state down. That'll show Whitey. Maya Angelou, what is really injured is the psyche of our national population. And now Gintel Warren Zimmerman could be gay rapist. I mean, this is just so ridiculous. Yeah, she's gone on a TV show and basically said that this is the type of insane garbage. While our country's in trouble, our jobs are being shipped overseas. What about $21 billion to ship General Motors to China that taxpayers paid for? That's in the newspaper a couple times. No one even knows it. I mean, that's discrimination against all American taxpayers. I don't care what color you are. What about not being able to have GMO labeled? So we have a right to not eat GMO plants that are in the different processed foods that have their own pesticide growing in them that's deadly to the rats that eat it, but it's supposedly safe for us. What about the right to not have Fukushima raining radiation down on the U.S.? Oh, no, no, no. None of that matters. And then why is the media playing up still how horrible the verdict was and not criticizing the people ransacking Walmart and attacking white people? Man, I'm telling you, this stuff only flies in places like California, folks. I'll guarantee you, people tried to block the highway, try to drag people out of cars in Texas. It's going to go real bad, real fast. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to be getting to more of this as it unfolds. It's all up on Infowars.com. We have a very special guest we're going to in a moment. But brothers murdered over free Zimmerman sticker. That's a new report up on Infowars.com. Jogger kidnapped and attacked over Zimmerman verdict. We have our own stories on that, but Watson's story is not anywhere. That's a breaking news story. Operation Paul Revere, InfoWars online film festival is now live. We got like 600 plus entries. We put like 300 up. Couldn't put all 600 up, but we'll try to rotate those in later. Up at Infowars.com/Paul. Infowars.com/Paul. And you can see the top half of the best entries. And if yours fell through the cracks, I'm sorry. When you get 600 plus, there's already been tens of millions of views of these films. Already been a huge success. And we're now going to start showcasing these throughout the month. By the end of the month, I will declare the $100,000 first place winner and then the other two winners, $115,000 in prizes. And you can go see the amazing films. You can get lost for days in there. Infowars.com/Paul or Paul Revere, the Paul Revere contest. So we're going to be covering that more in the next few days and playing some of the highlights of the. In about a week, we'll tell you the top 50, then the top 30, the top 20, the top 10, and then the top 3 will be announced towards the end, sometime in the last week of July, which is just about a week and a half, 2 weeks away. So that's just some of the news up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Now, joining us for the balance of the hour is somebody that I've been a big fan of for a long time, and John Bound said he had a crush on her when he was a teenager, but Mary Lou Henner. And I'd seen her on 60 Minutes. We're going to play a clip of that coming up later. I'd seen her in different, the movie about Andy Kaufman. But I heard her a couple of years ago on Howard Stern. And he was doing these memory games with her, and she could remember it all. And it was just one of the best interviews I've heard. Because I usually am in the car about 30 minutes. I sat there in the parking lot and listened like a whole hour of the interview. So I thought, let me get her on the air. Now, I can't do as good an interview as Howard Stern, and I won't ask as racy questions. But she's also a GCN radio host in the morning at GCNlive.com, getting picked up by stations all over the country right now. And I am just very, very excited to have her with us. But she was in the Total Recall episode of 60 Minutes and another 60 Minutes episode called Endless Memory. And I've seen a bunch of these. Very fascinating. They did Endless Memory Part 2. And she's been on a bunch of other shows. And she has, I guess, what they call highly superior autobiographical memory. And I find this fascinating because I had somewhat of a photographic memory until I was about 30 or so, and it's not as good, but nothing like hers. I mean, if I focused on something, then I can remember it perfectly and vividly. But it's hit or miss. With her, it's total, and I wonder if that continues. And she's also a best-selling author on rearing children and so much more. So Mary Lou Henner, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. Thank you. Thank you. I'm a fan of yours as well. And I'm sure you get told this all the time, but you sound so much like Charlie Sheen. Do you hear that all the time?
I do sound like Charlie Sheen?
Oh, so much like him. He's fantastic. I think he's an incredible actor. He's great.
You know, I think sometimes when I'm hurrying, now that you say it, I kind of have a cadence like him.
Yeah, you do. Very much so. Very much so.
But then other times I sound kind of like Rush Limbaugh, but I'm not doing it on purpose. This is how I talk.
Much sexier sound quality to your voice than Rush Limbaugh. Much sexier.
You're too sweet.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Much more like Charlie Sheen.
Well, I'm friends with Charlie, so...
he's got a great voice. He's a wonderful actor, and
yep.
I got to do an episode of 2.5 Men, but I didn't get to do it with him. I got to do it with Ashton Kutcher and John Cryer and the rest of the team. But I'm a big fan of Charlie's as well, and I know his family. So yeah, but
boy, aren't they sweethearts?
They're incredible. His mom and I, she and I have the exact same birthday. We're both born April 6th. So and my first husband was Frederick Forrest, who worked, of course, with Marty Sheen, Charlie's father, on Apocalypse Now, and then. Marty and I worked together in an episode of a television. And it's funny, as I'm talking to you, all these dates are flooding through my head because I could say, oh yeah, he and I did this thing September the 23rd, started on Monday, September 23rd of 1985. And oh yeah, it's like all these different dates come flooding through. And everything that you said in the introduction, like the 60 Minutes, that was instantly December 19th, 2010. And, it's like all these different dates come into my head very quickly.
And so you haven't lost any of it as you get older?
No, you know what's so funny? I always had it. Even as a child, I had it. I mean, even at 6 years old, people would call me the memory kid, and I'd fall asleep at night saying, what did I do a year ago on this very same day in school? And, you know, what did I do when I was my little brother Lauren's age? And, you know, so I was always exercising it even as a kid because it was something easy to do, and it was kind of fun to fall asleep that way with that kind of meditation. But as I've gotten older, I think mainly because I'm asked about it so much more than I ever was these past 2 years, since 2.5 years since 60 Minutes was on, that because I'm constantly exercising it every single day with people. Yeah, it's actually getting better. Yesterday I was on the set of Unforgettable, which is my show that's on CBS, about a cop who has my memory. Poppy Montgomery plays the part. And we're going back on the air July 28th. And so I was on the set yesterday, and people were asking me all kinds of things. Oh, remember the last time you were here? And what was I wearing and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's kind of fun to do that. Now, I will never forget our interview today, July 16th.
Wow. But I can tell that having this incredibly rare gift, it's not just a gift, it then becomes who you are. Because when I start talking about any news item or anything, 1,000 things that are connected to it, not so much the date, but that too, U.S. codes and bill numbers and things, and other things that connect to it all rush to the fore. And so that's when I start going, because...
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like I always say, you know, everybody remembers something especially well. People who think they have no memory at all, they remember something special in they remember something especially well in their lives. And I always say that in the jigsaw puzzle of your life, what are the hard-edged pieces? You know, what would help you connect the other things? You do it naturally because you probably have a very astute, highly trained memory, because you love information and you love making connections anyway. So you have all of this completely outlined. You have much more than even the border of the jigsaw puzzle of your life. But it's all about interconnecting and interlocking different bits of information. So that's the power of it. I mean, that's why, you know, in my book, Total Memory Makeover, I keep trying to teach people, no, you can remember so much more than you do. You just don't know how to retain, retrieve, you know, receive, retain, and then retrieve the information.
We're going to give out some of your websites here in a moment, but what's the best site to visit for all your sites?
Oh, well, marylou.com will connect you with everything. I've been teaching classes online for 13 years. I have 30 coaches who teach my program with me. We have classes every month. I'm in the chat room. But also you can connect to maryloushow.com, you know, the show on GCN, or you can go to GCN. But everything, marylou.com will have the most information if you want everything from recipes to how to find the the radio show and what's coming up next, you know, in terms of...
It's all there. Yeah. It seems like this culture tries to dumb everything down and simplify it all, trying to get people not to use their memory. I think the essence of freedom is having a will to be free and not lay down to corruption and to learn, but also to remember things. I mean, this is so obvious, it's silly to say, but to have a memory. If we remember all the lies of the politicians, and if we remember how they incrementally take our rights, then the whole roadmap's there instead of living just right now.
Absolutely. And if you remember how the advice of your doctor just made you stave off disease for a short period of time until you were a paying customer again, rather than learning how to use your own body to heal yourself. You know, if you can start remembering things, it's amazing how you start to head off the red flags that are such a part of our culture.
You know, I never thought about that I sound like Charlie Sheen, but actually, now that I hear myself talking, I do sound a little bit like Charlie Sheen, at least in the cadence. That's a weird epiphany. But I guess with your super brain, you're then able to remember his voice suddenly and then put it together with my voice. What is that like? How many people have your gift, A? And B, have you ever met any of them, and what is that like?
Well, they showed us on 60 Minutes. There were 5 of us that were in the same room meeting. And at that point, there were only 6 of us. The person who started it all, basically. I mean, everybody's gone through their lives having the memory, but there was a woman by the name of Jill Price who came forward, approached the University of California at Irvine. Dr. James McGaw is like the grand master of memory, and he proved that memory is tied to adrenaline. He had already been featured on 60 Minutes, etc. So she went to him and he said, oh, if you're having trouble with memory, maybe you should read this book or that book. She said, no, my problem is I can't forget. I don't forget anything. They had never seen anything like it. There was nothing in medical journals, anywhere, scientific books, nothing about it. So they tested her for many years, and then they offered the story to both 60 Minutes, Leslie Stahl, and to Diane Sawyer on Primetime Live. And Leslie, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, she basically said, hate to burst your bubble, it's not that unusual. My friend ilu Henner has the same memory. So they turned the story down, and Jill Price went on Diane Sawyer. Well, now Leslie called me 3 years later. She said, it turns out it is very unusual. They've only found a few more people. I want you to go to UC Irvine. You're going to be tested on camera. So I was tested on camera on November the 4th and the 5th of 2009. Anyway, so I was tested on camera, and then on the 6th and 7th of December of that same year. And then it took a year for them to do all of the research on other brains. And they got all these different other age range and male, female, et cetera, et cetera. So there was the group of 6 of us. They tested our brains in terms of measurements because they wired us, put us through MRIs, took about 300 measurements of our brains. And what they discovered is that there are 9 areas of our brains that are 10 times larger than the normal person's.
Wow.
10 times larger. You would be freaked out if you saw the x-rays. It's pretty crazy because you see everybody, the normal brain, and then you see, I saw my brain and I went, oh my gosh, it's crazy how big this area is, a few times. So, but what they found is they have found 6 more people that are now documented. So there are 12 of us who've been through all. So
you're like an X-woman. I mean, so it's a good mutation to have. You're like Superwoman.
Yeah, well, Howard Stern said, you know, I mean, this is like superhero status and everything. It was a very funny interview.
But what's crazy is you were already an incredibly successful TV, movie star, best-selling author. It just shows why you were already so successful, not just good-looking, but also very intelligent and very bubbly and very electric. And then it just... You didn't even understand how special you really were, and this far into your career, it's like a whole nother area that you recognize how special you are once other people, I guess, basically recognized it. Think of how many other incredible human gifts are out there that just haven't been recognized.
Sure, absolutely. And you know what was really funny is that I used to talk about this in interviews, and I'd say, oh, well, give me any date. I remember my entire life. Give me any date within my lifetime. And people would say, okay, what did you have 2 weeks ago for lunch? And I'd think, why are you asking me that question? That's like so easy. But people couldn't wrap their minds around this whole thing. People had no idea what I was talking about until Dr. McGaugh, Leslie Stahl, 60 Minutes kind of sanctioned it. And the medical, the medical profession, of course, and the scientists, of course, had a name for it and tested us enough to have some kind of explanation for it all. So they still don't know how it came about, but they definitely know that there is something different about our brains, by far.
What area of the brain is it? I mean, is it in between the lower centers and the cerebral cortex? What's the area of the brain?
It's connected somewhat to the hippocampus and to the caudate nucleus, but it isn't in those places. I don't even know the name of it because when I see it on a chart, it's all like letters and numbers. It's not even... Sure, I understand.
It's all subregions.
Yeah, all these different subregions. But what was interesting is they took the measurements of all of us, and the 12 of us moved like this among the hundreds of people that they tested. So we all were in the same group. It was crazy when I saw the statistics. And, they had the 300 areas of the brain listed in terms of like some kind of, it looked like a logarithm or something. And so, but you saw the 12 of us kind of move together. And our numbers. I mean, it was really quite fascinating. And the testing is ongoing. I mean, I've answered over 1,000 questions. The initial testing is crazy. They test you on with every memory test they've ever created, whether it's number sequencing backwards and forwards, looking at something visual, being read a story and then repeating it verbatim, asking questions about it, color things, and then you get into the date testing, and that's really crazy. So they do all of these different dates, and there's this kind of gold standard 100-question test. And then they find things on each individual person and ask us questions like that.
Sure. Let me be honest with you. I was never a big drinker, but I like to drink sometimes just to stop thinking, because obviously I'm not that articulate on air, but just sitting there in a room, my brain has such complex thoughts and things that being sober is like being on a super drug or something. And then it's almost fun to eat a big meal or, drink whatever so that I can rest my brain. What is it like for you to have, a brain 10 times more complex than that. I mean, I can see that it animates you, and you've got all this energy to do, you know, 2-3 hour radio shows a day, TV shows, write books. I mean, what is it like? How do you handle it?
Well, it's funny that you said that thing about drinking, because people always say to me, do you ever have a drink? Do you ever go? I said, oh, you mean sake land? You know, it's almost like, I like sake. So I say, oh, yeah. It's like you go someplace else, and then there's like a whole memory thing that happens over in sake land. You know, it's like, but I know what you mean. It's like sometimes you just have to shut down. I'm not much of a sleeper. I sleep about 5 hours a night, but when I have two switches, on or off. So when I'm out, I am out. And I really sleep very well and very soundly. It's rare that I don't sleep really soundly for at least 5 hours. But it's going on all the time. But it's also like a pilot light. You know, it's something, if I'm driving in my car and all of a sudden a song comes on, I can like scroll through every time I've ever heard that song from the first time to the last time.
Unbelievable.
Or I can just say, oh, well, you know, I'm talking to my sister on the phone. Well, not like this, because you have to use, you know, headsets. But I'm talking to my sister on the phone and a song comes on. I'll go, oh, that reminds me of, and then I'll go right back to my conversation with my sister. You know, so it's like always there and it's available to me, which is maybe its power that I can use.
Sure. Do the scientists think this is the next level of humanity, or do they believe that small numbers of humans, because used to there wasn't 7 billion people, so there's only maybe 100 people they think like you, maybe worldwide or something, then maybe you've never existed before until now?
They think that it's new. They think it's new and we might be evolving to this, but they don't know. They still don't know. The testing is going on forever. Now, I mean, going on, as I said, continues to go on. They have more people that they're testing, that they're putting through what the 12 of us have been through, but they have kind of in waiting maybe 50. I heard 50 and then I heard 33.
Oh, I bet the Pentagon's interested in you.
Yeah, you know, my son has it, but he doesn't exercise it as much, but I know he has it. He's 17. They're going to test him because they can't test them with MRIs until they're 18.
Well, also, I mean, there's maybe 100 or so, a couple hundred, who knows, of people that have, you know, like the super brain like you, but then there's people down, you know, probably hundreds of thousands, millions that just have more advanced memories than the average person. But as you said, anybody can train and develop and expand their memory and learn how to access it.
Oh. Absolutely, and we've gotten so lazy. And not only that, I mean, everything is so convenient for us. It's all speed dial. And you get punished for using your phone and putting in a number. Now, you know, of course, you're not supposed to take your eyes off the road. But if you know,
it's funny you said adrenaline's connected to it, because if I can't remember something, if I hop around and kind of get excited, then I can remember it. Stay there. Mary Lou Henner, incredible interview. We're coming right back with you. Website's marylou.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. This is an exciting interview. I want to meet this lady in person. We'll be right
in the next few weeks.
All right. Well, all right. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Folks, we're going to have open phones in the third hour today. Then I'm doing a fourth hour.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups.
Absolutely.
You want answers?
Well, so do we.
So does he. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Only I can interrupt my own liner. I did that on purpose, actually. We're back live, ladies and gentlemen. Ted Nugent's going to be with us in the fourth hour today to talk about the whole situation with Trayvon Martin and, of course, the George Zimmerman situation. There is a lot of violence going on. Mary Lou, I want to get into... Mary Lou Henner joins us if you just tuned in, folks.
It reminds me of, do you remember Wednesday, April 29th, 1992? The Rodney King riots in Los Angeles. It was horrible. It was terrible. And it didn't accomplish anything. It's terrible. I mean, the whole thing, the whole situation is so sad for everybody and everything. And it's just, anyway. And
political correctness and groveling over all this and everybody fighting with each other, I think only makes it worse. I mean, how does beating up or shooting some white people bring Trayvon Martin back? Or how does the Klan lynching some black guy randomly? I mean, what does that do? I just don't get fighting with each other over what color we are. But a lot of people, I guess, who are shallow, it just makes sense to them. What do you think about this race obsession by the media?
You know, it's so funny because having grown up in Chicago and having grown up in show business, you know, my career has been mostly in show business, it doesn't have that same kind of, it just doesn't have that same kind of zeitgeist. It just doesn't, you know, and so when I see people do it, I feel like, where are we? Are we, you know, 50 years ago? What's going on? Let's all kind of calm down and just, you know, work together and not polarize so much.
Well, sure, it's the mainstream media wants to divide and conquer. That they want the polarization as a tool of statecraft, and in the name of fighting racism, they hype it up and make it the central issue to distract from things. I want to get into child rearing with you. I want to get into what you're currently doing. There's so many questions I've got, but one thing we're both involved in, I have InfoWarsHealth.com. You promote longevity products as well. I mean, you're obviously in great shape. I got into this because I saw friends and family have dramatic weight loss, health, memory, with the hundreds of longevity products that we have at InfoWarsHealth.com, but you're now promoting it. And just to put a plug in here, this is what funds the show to a great extent, Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, now available at InfoWarsHealth.com, probiotics, prebiotics, amino acids, essential cofactors, and more, whole foods, trace minerals, antioxidants. Now, folks wanted it all certified organic, non-GMO. Well, the old Tangy Tangerine pretty much is, but they couldn't get it certified because of some of the sourcing. This has an 8,000 ORAC total score. The old one had 5,000 and something in it, 5,745 if memory serves. This has 8,000. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get free shipping at InfoWarsHealth.com when you sign up for auto ship, and there's almost 400 other products there on the site. They now have OsteoFX, Beyond OsteoFX.
That's the one I like. I think that's a great product. And I think it goes immediately into your body. So that's what I love about it. I think it's like, you know, I mean, because let's face it, I'm the world's greatest eater, and I still can't get everything from my food, unfortunately, because of the way the food is processed and the way the food is given to us. And I eat in restaurants once in a while, and I eat it on an airplane once in a while. And that's why I think what Dr. Wallach is onto is a really smart thing. And believe me, I've been in the health business for over 34 years. This year is my 34th health birthday because I got into it after both my parents died. My father died of a heart attack at 52.
Wow.
My mother died of arthritis at 58.
Arthritis? Died of arthritis?
Died of arthritis. They can call it other stuff. She died of arthritis because she didn't have the right information. And so I became this obsessed student of health after
Absolutely.
that.
I have a family member who, when she was 20, couldn't even get out of bed, and then got another doctor that said it's nutrition, and it's a autoimmune thing in your joints, and you've got to run, and you've got to eat healthy.
You've got to move. Yeah, absolutely. It makes me crazy.
And then now she doesn't have any arthritis.
Yeah, it makes me crazy that we give all this power to a stupid pill, or we think, oh, let's do the fight on cancer and let's do this and stuff. And nobody is paying attention to the power in a plate of food. I mean, a plate of food has much more power than almost anything else that you can ingest. So it's very important for you to, first of all, get the highest quality food, most nutrient-dense food that you possibly can, a plant-based diet whenever you can, whether it's 20, 40, 60, or 80% of your diet. And do not think that your doctor is going to have all the answers, because something that you do at least 2 or 3 times a day is eat, and most doctors have had absolutely no counseling, no classes whatsoever in nutrition. It's not even mandatory.
Oh, that's admitted. Hospitals have the worst food, period, of anywhere in major studies. So again, folks, InfoWarsHealth.com. There's also a toll-free number if you want to call that and get a free catalog. But the catalog's online at InfoWarsHealth.com. And all I do is I go out and find the very best thing, whether it's water filtration, whether it's books, films, whatever, in a free market to fund my political ideology of libertarian, populist, constitutional ideas. And that's why I promote longevity. And when folks go to InfoWarsHealth.com and get it there, it supports us and what we're doing. And then you can also go and sign up under longevity at MaryLou.com as well, because she's doing it, she's promoting it. And yes, it's not only about funding our other messages with things like this, it's about win-win-win. Promoting things we know are great, the revolution of health, the revolution of high-density, nutritious, plant-derived things like you get in Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, And it's really about goodwill. Win-win, win-win-win. InfoWarsHealth.com, folks.
How can you think? How can you live your life if all the nutrients aren't going to your brain and to your other organs? And you can't, if all you're doing is spending your time digesting. Because let's face it, we are stuffing our faces, but we are starving our bodies, and our bodies are so deprived of nutrients that nothing knows how to power itself. Nothing. The body doesn't know how to power itself, and so that's why it's so important to at least take these kinds of supplements, because if you can't eat a perfect diet, at least, and even when you can, something is missing. So this is a great way to start.
Well, of course, they've had the OsteoFX that pro football players, you name it, rave about. We're going to be getting some of them on the show. People that are going to have knee replacements, basketball players, you name it, they get on this miraculous. Ted Anderson, the owner of this network, was going to have knee surgery. That's why he said, you got to look into this longevity. And then family looked into it. I said, here, take these samples. What do you think? Right. And my mom, who's a triathlete, said, this is dramatic. Now they've got the new powdered Beyond OsteoFX available at InfoWarsHealth.com. What are your favorite longevity products? And then we'll move on.
Okay, my favorites are OsteoFX because, as a mom, I have a mom who died of arthritis, and I feel like there's no way that we're going to get the right amount of what we need. That product is a great way to go. And I like the Ultimate Classic as well. Those are my two favorites. And then, of course, I like a lot of the makeup products, and the chocolate's pretty good. And I'm not even a chocolate eater. But if I do have dark chocolate, no dairy, then, because I'm so anti-dairy. That's probably my biggest soapbox, because to me, that was the #1 change in my life, giving up dairy products.
But I go through withdrawals. I mean, I know if I quit dairy, I lose even more weight and get even healthier.
Yes,
I'm kind of built like Ben Grimm now. I mean, I'm not even really fat. I just got big muscles. But I'm addicted. How do I get off of it?
I know it's the dopamine. Most of those foods, because flavor adheres to fat. So anything that's got sugar or salt, because let's face it, all dairy products is supposed to do is turn a 50-pound calf into a 300-pound cow in 6 months. That's it. That's what it's designed for. It's for an animal that's got 9 feet of intestines and 4 stomachs. We have 27 feet of intestines and 1 little stomach. So it's not even for the same animal. So now they take this indigestible food. We can't possibly break it down the proper way because it has the wrong hormones. It's got the wrong enzymes in it. It's just not designed for our bodies. So now they take this food that's for another animal, and then they take all the water out of it and put bacteria in it, and then give it tons of salt, and then let it age. It's called cheese, and there we have it. Another food that we really can't digest, especially even if we hydrate ourselves. So it's crazy that we are drinking the breast milk of an animal that we have nothing to do with. Go nurse from an orangutan, because they're so much closer to you than a cow is, and yet you would never think of doing that. I mean, it makes me nuts. It makes me, and I know I used to be addicted to dairy. It was the one thing I looked forward to. I used to go on stupid diets where I'd buy a pound of Jarlsberg cheese and chip away at it all day and call it my 1,700 calorie a day diet. And then I was wondering why I was fat, constipated, and had pimples. I dropped 54 pounds from getting healthy. 54 pounds from giving up dairy products, eating a more plant-based diet, giving up meat, giving up sugar, giving up anything that had refined sugar in it. I still have, things like agave and stuff like that. But it makes such a difference in your health, because my parents died in their 50s, and I did not want to go that way. And I also wanted a quality of life, not just the numbers. I mean, in this country, we assume that people are going to be on 8 to 11 medications by the time they're 60 years old. 8 to 11 medications. That's crazy. That's nuts to me. And we feel like the last 10 years of our lives, we're probably going to barely be able to get out of bed, or we'll be hooked up to some machine and we'll go out, slowly into the night, that kind of thing, but painfully. And that's not necessary. It's not at all.
Well, I was always a big exercise guy and ran 6 miles every other day and lifted weights and looked great, but ate all sorts of bad things, you name it. And then for about 10 years, I decided to just quit everything, basically, except for going on a few hikes and to work, and just got really unhealthy. And now it's been about a 4-year process of, slowly transitioning off of all that. So I want listeners to know, you don't have to do all this overnight. Just start by cutting back on things, exercising some, drinking more purified water, getting on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the OsteoFX 2.0. I mean, just some basic things like that, and you will see dramatic differences. Here's an example. I always have a cup of coffee in the morning. I love how it tastes. I might have a second cup a day, but used to I'd have 5 cups to be able to work 17, 18 hours a day sometimes when I'm making a film or something. Now I'll have a Beyond Tangy Tangerine or a Pollen Burst Plus at like 5 o'clock, and I get more energy out of vitamins and minerals than I do off of coffee.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, also there's a crash after coffee. But I always say to people, and this is what I talk about on my show, my whole show, the Mary Lou Show, and you can really find all this information at maryloushow.com. It's all life through the prism of health. It's all about getting the message out that you can live a healthier diet. You're never too young or too old to feel healthier than you do right now. And it's all progress, not perfection. I mean, I've been doing this for 34 years, and I'm still learning so much. It's progress, not perfection. It's something small. Do something small to make yourself feel better. If it's just walk around your block, if it's just read a label, if it's just make water your only beverage for like 6 hours, you know, and throw some tangerine, you know, into it. Whatever you need to do. But there's something small that you can do today, even if it's having better posture. There's something
exactly.
You can do today to improve
the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and we can either just give in to this toxic world, or we can resist it and thrive instead of collapsing. But larger issue is the hydrofluorosilicic acid they add to the water. They know what that does. The GMO, where it kills the bugs that eat it, but they say it's safe for us to eat it.
It's crazy. And our children, you know, and then it's so unfair of us to give our children the steroids, the hormones, the crap, the GMOs, everything, you know, the sugars, all that stuff that we're putting in their foods, their breakfast cereals, their drive-through foods.
And then put them on Prozac or Ritalin when they act bad.
And then with their little 40 to 80-pound bodies, can't sit still because of all the crap we've given them. And then what happens? We get all of a sudden, you know, we say they have ADD and ADHD, and then we give them more stuff on top of that. It's so unfair. I wrote a book, Alex. I wrote a book in 2000 called Healthy Kids. That title was that title was even available to me is crazy. But in 2000, I wrote a book. I was going on the road with Annie Get Your Gun, and I said, I want to visit schools. I want to see lunchrooms. I want to see children's hospitals. What are they feeding our kids? Because I had 2 little boys. I have 2 little boys. They were young at the time. They were 5 and 6. And I said, I want to go visit. I'll write this book. My book publisher said, we're not going to pay you. Nobody's interested in nutrition for kids. I said, you know what? 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about it like crazy because we're facing an epidemic. Our children are changing overnight. I said, don't pay me for the book. I want to write this book. So I wrote this book, Healthy Kids. And what I discovered about school lunchrooms, about, you know, what we're feeding our children, what's in the food, how advertisers focus on an 8-year-old because they feel like if they get you at 8, they have a consumer for life. Just everything. I went through every age, whether it was breastfeeding all the way up to college dorm foods, et cetera, et cetera. And people thought I was being so controversial. In fact, I had one chapter in there that they wouldn't even let me publish because I was way too controversial in terms of the connection with you know, the mercury that was in vaccinations for autism and dairy products for autism and gluten for autism and other diseases and stuff.
You're a trailblazer.
I know. This has been my passion. I love that I got to do Taxi. I think it's the most extraordinary experience of my life, and I've loved all the movies I've done. But nothing excites me more than talking about health. And that's why I wanted to get... Well,
I'm not kissing up to you. You are a Renaissance woman. I tell you, you are the model of what it's going to take to save this country. Because as women go, so goes the culture. Advertisers have always known that. And it's so good that you're out there and that you have been trailblazing. You also wrote a bestseller on how to get kids to behave themselves.
Yeah, I refuse to raise a brat because I think that this is a brat culture. And little brats turn into big brats. Little brats become these obnoxious...
Oh, yeah, it's not just the cops that act like brats sometimes. The public acts like brats.
The public acts like brats. This sense of entitlement. And I, of course, see it a lot in Hollywood. It's crazy, and it's totally indulged there. But I see people that there's like no work ethic anymore. It's like people just take it for granted. And, you know, just this whole culture of children who, I'll tell you a really funny story. This happened like right after I wrote the book. But my son was celebrating his birthday, very young, 4 years old, and I said, I'm sick of these birthday parties. I'm going to have our own birthday party. We're going to play the old games that we used to play when we were kids. So I start musical chairs, right? So it's like, dee, 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 dee. The kids are going around in a circle, and a little boy gets out. It's like, okay, you're out. He immediately starts to cry. And the mom says, he's never played this game before. I said, all right, fine, you can stay in. So now, dee, 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 dee. Another kid, okay, you're out. He's never played either. And I went, okay, fine. okay, you're all still in the game. So now round and around, I make sure my son, the birthday boy, I said, okay, birthday boy, you're out. And a mother calls me and she says, we don't play this game anymore. And I said, why? And she said, it's bad for self-esteem. I said, what about survival of the fittest? What about learning how to navigate?
Well, this has been done by the social engineers, is what I'm saying, on purpose, so that we're all a bunch of jellyfish who can be run over. When you go through adversity, that which does not kill you only makes you stronger. And I don't agree with a lot of Nietzschean ideas, but I'm here to tell you that's true.
Absolutely. That's why I put a whole chapter in my book called The School of Hard Knocks. Because if we don't, it's well-intentioned parents who cripple their children more than anything else. They're the ones who want to be the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the legs. So many parents carrying their kids to school when the child can walk. It's like, if we don't teach, that's where self-esteem comes from.
Oh, I got to tell you, I mean, my dad, I couldn't do this with my kids now. I'll be honest. My dad, I'd come home with black eyes. He'd go, well, you better fight harder next time. And my dad wasn't some macho Mr. Tough guy. And, nowadays they have weapons and stuff, so it's a little bit different. But that's why people used to be tougher. And then also, once you became strong and confident, you weren't going to pick on people because a really confident man doesn't even act like that. And bullies didn't used to get away with stuff because they ended up getting their butts kicked. Nowadays...
It's a bully with a secret. There's always something in a bully. Bullies are the ones who are the real who are the ones who are in trouble. They're the ones with the sickness. They're the ones who should.
Oh, I know. Every time I started kicking a bully's butt, they'd start crying at the end of it. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. ilu Henner is our guest. Amazing lady. Alex Jones here, back live. We've got the third hour coming up. I'm going to open the phones up. Talk about the whole Trayvon situation and the racial attacks happening all over the country and a bunch of other geopolitical news this has been distracting people from. Then we'll go into the fourth hour. I did 4 hours forever, and then I quit doing it, saying I have to do the nightly news, but now I'm going back to 4 hours when some stations quit carrying it. That's just whatever. I'm going to go into the fourth hour with Ted Nugent, and if your local station doesn't carry it, Infowars.com/show to find the free video feed, the free podcast, the free iPhone Droid apps, the free newsletter sign up. It's all at Infowars.com/show. And please send that link on to friends and family. That's how we wake more people up. Because it's about building an economy and a civilization based on quality, based on truth, based on culture. And you vote with your dollars. You vote with your time. You vote with what you promote and what you stand for. And there are a lot of good people in this world. We have to take the world back. By the way, Drew Pearson, we're going to get him on the show. He's a big longevity fan, obviously famous Dallas Cowboy. We'll put his image up on screen for TV viewers. But Drew Pearson, his favorite products are the Beyond Osteo FX. They have, of course, it's new. It's the Osteo FX is his favorite, and the Ultimate CM Plus. Imagine all the stuff his joints have gone through, and of course Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0. All of this available at InfoWarsHealth.com, and there's also a toll-free number right there on the side if you want to call or ask any questions. But ilu Henner is also, because she believes in this so much, promoting longevity. You can also sign up at marylou.com. There in the health area if you'd like to be a distributor or just buy the products. You can sign up for $10 and become a distributor and get big discounts as well, just like Mary Lou Henner has done. marylou.com. All right, in closing, in the next few months, when you come back from New York through L.A., you're going to come to Austin in studio with us. I'm very excited, Mary Lou. This interview went even better than I thought it would. I thought it would be very, very informative, just amazing. And I think we have chemistry, as you were saying during the break. So I look forward to meeting you and your husband in person. But in the 3 or 4 minutes we've got left, closing comments for the audience out there, Mary Lou.
Don't take anything for granted. Don't take your health for granted. Don't take your relationships, your kids, nothing. Stop being a brat and open up your mind to a much bigger world out there than just that your sense of entitlement or what you think someone like your doctor is telling you. Question everything. Find the right path for yourself, and know that health is available to you. It's progress, not perfection. Don't think I have to do everything all at once. I have to be able to, run a marathon or be a triathlete or something like that. It's not. And most of all, stop waiting for your someday person. Everybody's got that someday person that they think, oh, as soon as I lose weight, or when I get a better job, or when we move, or when my kid goes to college. It's not that. The someday person starts today. You know, you are so much closer than you think to what you think you want. So don't keep thinking that it's some person way outside of yourself. It's right there. You just have to tweak it a little bit. And you have to, you know, put yourself out there. Don't just show up. Show up to play. Show up to play, question. The freedom is there. The freedom is yours. And, you know, I went to Congress 6 times. So many. I mean, that's another whole show. I'll save my Congress stories and how nothing moves there for another time. I was there for the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act in 2010, and I was there for the food pyramid. And it was crazy what went on there. So just know that just because something's on your shelf, or just because the government says so, or just because your doctor says so, question all of it. Know that the truth is out there if you seek it. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Japan just said stop taking the Gardasil shots. We knew they were killing people in the trials.
Do you know something? All right, the Gardasil. Don't even get me started on that.
Can you do 5 more minutes?
Oh my God, sure. My boys are 17 and 19, okay? And so they've been from this generation. And every single one.
I'll tell you, we got to go to break. 1 minute break. Come back for 5 minutes. Get into the Gardasil story, and then we'll have you back next time in studio. MaryLou.com, InfoWarsHealth.com, and your purchase supports the broadcast. Well, this is turning into the summer of rage. I mean, it's starting to border on stuff that could turn into race war. Because let me tell you, if any of this looting or kidnapping or killing happens somewhere where there's armed communities, people are going to shoot back, and then that's going to start the whole thing going. That's coming up in the next segment, and I'm going to give the number out and take your phone calls. Wayne Madsen's going to pop in with some of the new developments in the Hastings case, and then Ted Nugent. So it's a jam-packed transmission. Mary Lou Henner, of course, of movies and TV shows, Taxi, also well known for her extremely rare, we're talking 1 out of, I don't know, 100 million people, what they think, super memory. She's with us, and just for 4 or 5 more minutes, to finish up a story, you started getting into Gardasil. And for those that don't know, the Japanese government has basically outlawed it and said people shouldn't take it. But we knew that 7, 8 years ago with the trials were killing people, and it doesn't protect you from the virus. Mary Lou.
And there hasn't been, and we haven't had the 20-year study or anything else. It was just like a pharmaceutical company's dream to start inoculating kids. You know, when you can start playing on the fear of the parents and you can get them on board, pretty soon these innocent victims are like lambs to slaughter, and they're getting inoculated. And then first it was the girls, and then it was a short range of ages for the girls. Then it was like a bigger age range for the girls, and now it's the boys. You know, and so parents were calling me because I have 2 boys who are 17 and 19. So they were in that sweet spot. Their friends, their female friends, etc. 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, the moms were calling me. I said, do not do this. Every generation has something like this, whether it's DES or thalidomide or whatever. It's like there are so many things that happen where there is some trendy new inoculation or new way to treat something, blah, 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 where they're doing it for the kids, and then that's it. Or it goes to the moms, and then it affects the children. So to me, it was always a crazy thing, and I'm not at all surprised that Japan has outlawed it, because it is just this groundswell. I mean, the fact that, you know, I think it was Texas that said that you absolutely had to get it, or it was a note from some other doctor.
Well, it was a hoax. Perry, because he got money from him, and so did most of the Republicans and Democrats, said, it's the law, you take it. And now they're going, your little boys are dirty, you all take it too. And then there's thousands of these viruses. It covered 4 of them. They say on the insert doesn't help you, causes autoimmune diseases, kills a bunch of people, and it's a test, Mary Lou, to see if they can kill us and get away with it. And people line up to brain damage their kids. I'm telling you, it's sick.
It's crazy, and that's what I'm saying. That's why the real freedom is in knowledge. Because once you know, you can't choose not to know anymore. So you better do your research before you do something with your children. You know, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. And especially something like this that is just a pharmaceutical dream for some crazy company, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon.
Well, what you're saying about the food pyramid is groups lobby billions of dollars the last 40 years for that on record. I think it's like $3 billion they've lobbied just for what's recommended. They paid billions to tell you what you're supposed to eat. Like Edward Bernays said, you will eat bacon with eggs. And everybody thinks we've got to have that because they ran a PR thing in the 30s.
Yeah. Well, you know, I went to Congress. I was one of 25 people, and I was only one of 2 private citizens that was allowed to go. And everybody else was from some special interest group. I mean, there was somebody from the Salt Institute. There was somebody from the Lard Institute trying to tell the government that lard was better than olive oil. There were 2 people from the sugar industry, 2 people from the meat industry, and 4 people from the dairy industry.
They should have a cyanide lobby, and where they just kill our kids with cyanide and say it's good. I mean...
I know. It's like rat poisoning. People say, well, why don't you let your kids eat this or try this or the Gardasil or whatever? It's like...
Fluoride is rat poison. You know that's what they use on rats. They put it in our water.
I know. It's terrible. And or toothpaste or whatever. Please. I mean, this is... You and I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours.
ilu Henner. It's a dynamic duo. Well, listen, thank you for all the time. We're going to have you back very, very soon. Anytime you want to pop in. And you've got your weekday morning show at GCNlive.com. Absolutely, yes. GCNlive.com. ilu Henner, I tell you, I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much. See you guys next time.
All right, thank you. We'll talk to her again very soon. She's going to be in studio with us. All right, coming up, your phone calls, the latest on the PSYOP. That's the Trayvon Martin situation and what's happening there. And then we've got Ted Nugent coming up. Stay with us. The death machine. It's growing. And the New World Order is involved in a mega, massive PSYOP to divert us from the massive military actions and build up in the Middle East. Our government, hijacked by foreign banks, looting us $85 billion a month in QE3, QE Infinity, putting Al-Qaeda in charge, setting up secret police here in America, journalists being persecuted, journalists dying, NSA being used on the people. I mean, just the crimes. We ought to do a 3-hour show sometime where we all just talk about the bad things the government's done and the bad things criminal interests have done. That's what our founders did for 15 years before 1775, 1776, but it really started in 1775. They had committees of correspondence where they would list the real crimes of the government. And it's important to do that because the government's always trying to demonize the people, the patriots, the liberty movement. They try to demonize good cops that act like human beings. They try to demonize people that try to bring folks together. I mean, I physically got nauseous last night and today reading people threatening to kill me all over YouTube, all over InfoWars. Go look at it. The Zimmerman family is getting massive death threats on record. If you go to drudgereport.com and Infowars.com, as well as prisonplanet.com, you'll get the widest spectrum. But there are so many instances of blacks, but also with whites, mainly anarchist types, beating up other white people and breaking into businesses and beating up news teams and attacking police cars and looting Walmarts. And cause I've been looking at who it is. It's 80% black, 15% anarchist, maybe 5% Hispanic. And I'm sure if LA starts burning again, it'll be a bunch of Hispanics involved as well, because that's the major population there. People just, use something like that. The criminal element that's in all groups will use something like that. But I mean, if this doesn't get stopped real soon, if the police, I said this on Saturday night when it happened, and I said it Sunday, and I said it right through yesterday, that, well, I said on Friday, you're going to see Zimmerman get off. I think what he did was stupid, following somebody around with a gun. I mean, if I saw somebody breaking in a car, I'm going to call the cops. Just because it's a car, it's not worth having to kill somebody. I don't want the trouble, quite frankly, and I don't want to have a confrontation. Chances are they'll pull a gun. Now I'm in danger. But if I saw somebody carjacking a car with a family in it, I'll be honest with you, folks, I would like a gorilla. I mean, go over there without, even if I didn't have a weapon, I would attack somebody. I mean, that's just how I am. If I see innocents being attacked by people, I will attack them. And you can call that stupid. I can't control myself. But if it's somebody, stealing your car or whatever, it isn't worth killing them. It isn't worth you dying. Even though legally and lawfully in most states you can kill somebody doing that. That goes back to the Old West, where if you stole somebody's horse, you might die. So I could see how that was the death penalty to steal somebody's horse, because you know, I mean, a horse might be a year's wages. And if somebody stole your horse, I mean, you know, they're trying to kill you. You're going to be left out there in the middle of nowhere with wolves and coyotes and the natives and everything else. But I got to tell you, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. This is even worse than how the media played up the whole Rodney King thing. I've never seen the media trying to create racial division like this, and I have never received this many death threats. I mean, go to Infowars.com. It is probably government provocateurs, most of them, but some of them are probably real, putting really nasty stuff up there about black people. And then there's black folks putting up nasty things about white people. And then there's Alex, why are you posting this like I'm doing it? I mean, this is what happens when you don't have censorship going on. It is a free-for-all on Infowars.com. But by the way, I was looking on other big message boards. It's a free-for-all everywhere. I don't have the staff to have 20 people in there controlling all the stuff that's going on. By the way, they're going to use stuff like this to censor the internet. France has already passed laws to basically not allow message boards and to arrest people that run message boards that allow anybody to say something racist. But then it's all going to be selectively enforced as well. You've got all these black leaders in the new Black Panther Party saying rioting is what's needed, and now they're calling it protesting. I love how Alan Dershowitz is... I love how just all these people are trying to stir this stuff up. I'm sitting there looking at all these news headlines. But it just goes on and on and on to watch this happening. And then you get this whole gangster thing that the politically correct people don't know what to do, where it's so popular in gangster culture to be really viciously anti-homosexual. And I don't mean saying, hey, it's a dangerous lifestyle, hey, you know, don't push it on, you know, young people, whatever. I'm talking about, you know, saying, hey, George Zimmerman, you know, deserved to get problems because he was a gay child molester and all this stuff. That's the kind of stuff being said by the friends of Trayvon Martin, like Gentel. Warren Zimmerman could be gay rapist. I mean, just this type of bizarreness that's going on out there. And then when it's these politically protected groups, they're basically allowed to do stuff that nobody else can get away with. I mean, just like calling white people cracker heads, cracker thises, cracker that's. I guarantee you, folks, if I was putting out the tweets and things that some black celebrities are doing, I would be arrested. I mean, there are people calling for his family to be killed, calling for him to be killed, and no one's getting in trouble. Because that's not free speech when you say we need to go kill somebody. That's a call to action. And I don't like the fact that they're setting up a politically correct system where whites are held up as the devil and then whites get nitpicked. You know, it's code words to say Obama's from Chicago. No, it means Obama comes from a gangster government. It doesn't mean anything to do with black people. When you say Chicago, the crime capital, people, you know, call Rahm Emanuel the Godfather. That means mafia, organized crime, Al Capone, Valentine's Day Massacre. So whites can't talk about Chicago because that's racist code word, but then you can call white people the equivalent of the N-word all day long, and it's supposedly okay because whites are inherently bad. And this is what the social engineers have set up. To them, race is just a way to control people. I want to get your take on all this. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. And remember, all of us are being forced GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, weather modification, open borders driving down wages, Fukushima radiation, 2 years raining down on us. Our government, $85 billion a month to foreign banks. We're being raped at every level. All of us are under attack. It's not the 1%, folks. More than 80% of the world's wealth, look it up, are controlled by 6,000 superclass, according to the head of the Kissinger Group. And I agree with Rothkopf's analysis. And we did the math a few months ago on air. of the amount of wealth they control, 6,000 people, if you divide it into 7+ billion, it comes out to comes out to 0.0000006 zeros, and then I think it was 26, or was it 23? It's not even 99.999999999999999% of us. It's 0.000000026, or was it 23? We got to do that math again. We did a whole math equation and showed graphics of this. I mean, this is insane. We're all being hit with this, and I want humanity to succeed. I cannot get any black people, except my listeners that happen to be black, excited about the fact that 50+% of blacks never get born. Or that 63% of the abortions in Texas and 65% in Florida and other states are minorities. It's like, oh, shut up, crackerhead. You know you're racist. And it's just like, what? It's a eugenics operation. They're chemically murdering us, biologically murdering us. We're under a social grid to dumb us down. We're all in this together, and the globalists are taking a case that might be wrong, might be right, reasonable doubt, and projecting it onto all of us. Like every white person's George Zimmerman, and every black person's Trayvon Martin. And now, this is mind control. Just like every gun owner killed the kids at Sandy Hook. They said, gun owners, it's your fault. You heard that. And now they're saying, gun owners, it's your fault Trayvon died. Man, don't you put that guilt on me. Don't you say I did that. I didn't kill those kids at Sandy Hook. I didn't go out there and shoot Trayvon Martin. How dare you get on my site and say you're going to kill me? You think I'm scared of that? I'm scared of the type of animal manipulation against different groups of human beings by the globalists to have us at each other's throats. And I'll tell you who I'm really scared for. If the disarmed minorities in these big cities ever think you're going to come to the suburbs, did you ever know it's your racist, big liberal bosses that took your guns away so you could be free game to be killed? Did you know if you ever came out in the suburbs of the countryside to burn down the white people's houses, do you have any idea what would happen? It's not going to be white people that are going to be dying. You already had your guns taken by the Ku Klux Klan. That's why you don't have guns in New York and Chicago and LA and DC, because they don't want black people having guns. You understand that? That's the racism right there. If you had guns, if the good people had guns, you wouldn't be getting fed on by your own people in your cities. That's a civil right. I'm not part of the 0.0000026 elite. I'm part of the 99.99999999999%. It isn't the 1% that's the enemy. It's the crony globalist up top. Ooh, don't they help themselves to corporate welfare and $85 billion a month of your tax money. That's right. That's right. And then you thought Obama was going to bring you a health care plan that the insurance companies and banks wrote, and that it wasn't going to be a screw job? But people don't want to admit they've been conned. And that's why poor people are poor, is because they buy into propaganda. And it makes me sick. And I'm watching everybody play it off against each other so Obama can act like the savior in the middle of it, and he's going to fix everything. I want to go to your phone calls, but here's the breaking news at Infowars.com. This is breaking at Infowars.com. Zimmerman family suspects Obama is tapping their phones. Everybody's phones are tapped, but you better believe the Justice Department is running this whole show, folks, because they want a distraction. I mean, look at MSNBC and the race baiting on there 24/7. Don't accept their entire agenda of tyranny? Well, you're a racist. Read the health care bill and know it's a scam? You're a racist. Want to be able to have folks armed in Chicago and New York and D.C. to protect themselves and drive down the crime rate? You're a racist. Want to arm black people? You're a racist. Don't want black people aborted in mass? You're a racist. You want to kill babies, kill black babies all day long, kill Hispanic babies, kill white babies? Baby, you're a liberal, and everybody's going to love you. Concerns over special interest groups pushing for federal hearing. That's right. Key article up on Infowars.com. Trayvon protesters storm Walmart, assault bystanders. We have that video. I mean, I can't even cover all this. This is just, I mean, there are so many attacks, beatings, shootings of whites right now with people saying, this is for Trayvon. Oh, yeah. And do you think that's going to make white people want to be your friend? You're like, I don't care. We're the royal black Israelites, and it's the end of the world for you, white devil. And then, of course, they used that in the transatlantic slave trade because whites were slaves then, too, in most areas of Europe. They called them serfs. And it was the exact same thing. Got whipped, got beat, you know, all the same stuff. So they said, oh, well, black folks, we got the curse of Ham, and they twisted the Bible, so they're allowed to be slaves, too. And then now the black Israelite movement picks up on that and goes, you're just a white devil because of your skin color. And it's nothing but what the Ku Klux Klan says, that they're God's special people. And it's the exact same thing that all these other groups do, saying, hey, I'm in the ultimate club. I'm God, and everybody else is a devil. The white groups say the blacks are the devil. The black groups say the whites are the devil. Meanwhile, the foreign offshore New World Order, poisoning our food and water, has made deals, and they've got the black leaders, they got the white leaders, they got the Asian leaders, they got all the leaders, or they kill them, signed on to the New World Order so they can play God and rewrite the whole planet and take over. And then you're supposedly a racist if you expose all that. I'm going to go to break, and I'm going to come back. We'll get Wayne Madsen on at about 40 after, so I want to hurry to some of your calls when we come back from break. In fact, let's go to a phone call right now. Let's go to Jay in New York City. Welcome, Jay.
Hi, Alex. It's nice to finally get on your show. I've been a big admirer of alternate news websites because of their desire to search for the truth and facts. And so that part of your show I respect. And I do respect that you have the guts to go on publicly and say things that are unpopular. So I hope that right now while I'm on your show, you'll give me the opportunity to say something.
Yeah, sure. Every time I cut a caller off when we go to break, they think it's censorship. Our break's at 30 after. I may be able to hold you over, but just, you don't need to do this. Listen, I got a pet peeve, though. It's call screen stuff on air. Okay? You're on air. We didn't screen your call, did we?
No, you didn't. So let me. So if you please, then let me quickly get up my.
Let's do a preface. Let's do it again. Go ahead.
Okay. My point is this: is that and I'm a white Latino. What somebody might say I have European ancestry and I have mestizo ancestry. What I'd like to say is for the Trayvon Martin case, how could anybody possibly believe that the man's claim that he had his head banged 25 times on cement is a truthful statement? And how could anybody believe that there would be no blood on Zimmerman's clothes or on Trayvon? All
right, I'm going to try to get exactly what you're saying when we come back. I'll come back to you. You can make your point. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Listen, I'm not mad at Jay. I love everybody out there, and you've heard me blow up about this before. So many callers, though, go, I want to talk about this. Go. You know, you're on the air. Or they'll say, I'm a big fan, but I disagree with you. That's fine. Listen, I'm a big boy. Okay, so just let me have it. Jay, get to the heart of what you're saying.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much. I appreciate it. The blood. When Zimmerman spoke to detectives on the tape, you can see that he said he had blood all over his face and his eyes. Yet, there was no DNA evidence on Zimmerman, on Trayvon Martin of any of Zimmerman's blood. Nothing whatsoever. Somebody asserting that they had their head slammed into concrete 25 times. It's impossible to have your head slammed into concrete 25 times and not have a concussion, be passed out, and then not want an X-ray. How could people believe evidence of photographs without an X-ray to back up?
I know, but do you understand that I'm only covering this to describe how it's a giant diversion? I mean, they've known for a long time, going back to the Lindbergh baby case and stuff, that they can take a court case and drag it out for years and get everybody diverted onto that instead of all the incredible things that are going on right now. And you give that evidence. I didn't follow the trial like some people did. I followed it some. And so you're just stating this is what happened and this is what went on. The witnesses, and there's multiple witnesses, said he was bouncing his head into the concrete. It creates reasonable doubt. I saw a comment here where Trayvon Martin's girlfriend says, this is up on Infowars.com, that the Sixth Amendment, or the right to jury and due process and to face your accuser, is old school, and we should just go directly to the government doing whatever it wants. I mean, the government, the #1 killer in history, just let it be imperial. This is a jury. It's our system. None of it's perfect. What do we do? I mean, I'm now covering. See, no one's going to cover the white people being killed and being shot and being attacked all over this country because they're of the devil. See, nobody cares about that, though. And that's the plan here, is to create this division. Do you understand that angle?
I do understand that, and I totally discourage any of my fellow countrymen that are minorities from committing any violence. I do not advocate violence. There is a God, and if the truth is going to come out...
Yeah, the real violence, buddy, is fluoride in kids' water every day. I appreciate your call. Everyone just loves to get into whatever the big thing is. And they just put out, here's the big thing, and everybody then, all these ignorant people, I'm not saying you're ignorant, sir, but other people, some of the statements we're seeing are very ignorant, going out saying, I'm going to kill Alex Jones, or I'm going to kill the Zimmermans, or I'm going to kill a cracker. And it's like, oh, how cute. And MSNBC's like, well, crackers have it coming. And it's the ruling class, mainly white people on MSNBC, stirring it all up. Let me tell you, these folks are racist people. They sit back and they're racist against humanity. They think we're all a bunch of dumb animals. They're playing us off against each other. And they write books saying we are and we deserve it by the mere fact this stuff works on us. But I refuse, as somebody that knows all this stuff, to use it against people. I refuse. We're getting Wayne Madsen on the line in a minute. Let's go to a couple more calls while we're getting him. Ernest in Washington, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Boy, I can just feel the emotion coming right through the speaker. Wow, it's insane.
Man, I'm getting sick of it. That's what I'm telling you, I'm getting sick of it.
Woo! Let's party on the Trayvon Martin party. Woo! Anyway, the reason I called is this big distraction that took everything right off of Michael Hastings.
And right off IRS gate, and right off the NSA, and right off everything. Exactly.
Michael Jackson considerably, I got.
But who cares? Let's kill crackers! Yeah! Woohoo! That'll fix it! Yeah!
So anyway, the reason I was calling is that they pulled the same distraction with the Boston Marathon bombing. Nobody heard about the blanket warrant that the DEA issued to every single medical marijuana patient in Oregon on the Friday before the bombing. It's never touched the light of day. And if you look at
Obama tripled the number of anti-marijuana raids. Look it up. But it's okay because he said he's going to let us have the weed. He's going to give me free health care. It actually increases the price for poor people. But it doesn't matter. He said he liked me, and he isn't a cracker.
So anyway, the Michael Hastings story. Here you have, now I know your premise is of course that 9/11 was an inside job. And if you take that premise from the beginning and you have a journalist who declares outright war on the United States government, and then a few, days later or whatever, his car explodes, I invite people to watch the movie, the beginning of the movie called The Gatekeepers. It's about the Shin Bet, Israeli anti-terrorist organization that the government has. And in the beginning of the movie, they show a car driving through a neighborhood, followed by a drone, and sure enough, boom, big explosion, and the car comes rolling out.
Yeah, sure. I don't think a drone did it because that would be too obvious. And the way the car blew up and the engine out the back looks like a bomb inside the car or under the car.
No, I was telling you what, he declared war and they droned him.
Well, he was smart. He was smart, good looking, had huge following on the left and right, and had bombshell info. And they killed him better than a hammer, absolutely. And we're going to send reporters there to investigate it. Because I'm not going to live on my knees to a bunch of pot-bellied New World Order people. Because I'm a racist. I appreciate your call. That's why I'm exposing, special hit teams. You see, it's all a distraction from that. I hear you. It's amazing. I'm going to go back to James and other people that are holding, like Matthew and Anthony and Tom and others. Anthony wants to talk about We Are Change, FBI intimidation. We'll see what that's like coming up when we get to him. But I wanted to get Wayne Madsen just to briefly pop in. He was here last week. Great guy. His info just keeps turning out to be so impeccable in the 15 years or so that I've been interviewing Wayne Madsen. But he's one of the original big NSA whistleblowers. He worked there. And I wanted to get his take on Homeland Security investigations. It's like a Praetorian Guard over the other Homeland Security departments. They tell them what drug shipments to stop, what to let in, what human smuggling to let, which the globalists run. I mean, that's why they're the key gatekeepers, speaking of gatekeepers, and that's always where they have the key ops. And I'm not saying they killed Hastings, but that's from the reporters that his buddy, Staff Sergeant Biggs, is talking to. They were investigating. They got threatened by them, and they say it's the same people that's the feds that were visiting people, according to these investigative journalists. And again, we have the names, we have the info. We're going to be, on these reporters. We're going to be interviewing a bunch of them, including TV station reporters, when we're out in Los Angeles to try to put this info out. And so, if they kill me this week, I mean, they might want to send a message and do it. Just know I'm not stupid, and I know that. Okay? I go willingly up against the dragon because I'm not going to submit to it and all of its evil. I mean, they're giving kids Gardasil shots they know give them basically cancer. And that's if you're lucky you get cancer in 20 years. A lot of them get cancer in a few weeks or have autoimmune or blood pour out of every orifice. I mean, that's why I just am going 110% here, because we're already under genetic warfare. We're already under biological warfare. We're already under soft kill warfare. So I wanted to bring up, he talked about the Q group that's now been confirmed, and the undersea cable tapping, and that all the European countries involved in it. He exposed it in their commission a decade ago or more. So what Madsen's covered has been confirmed. Just to give you that preface. But I wanted to bring up the Homeland Security Investigations Group. This is the Praetorian Guard assigned within ICE, but that's just the agency that funds it. And the fact that we're tunneling into this. And I wanted to invite Wayne Madsen. It just clicked. That's why I called to get him on. I would like to invite Wayne Madsen to fly him with one of my camera people out to be an advisor. Because Madsen, I've been with him. He knows how to pick up military operatives and stuff that have been put on us before. I don't want to get into the whole story. People that haven't lived this don't know, but we can't eat dinner without this stuff going on. And so, Madsen, how would you like to go with Staff Sergeant Biggs as an old school hand of the world and one of my camera people to Los Angeles next week on Monday and Tuesday? How would you like to do that?
Well, just in February, I was out in California investigating the what I consider the hit on Phil Marshall, 9/11 author Phil Marshall, and his 2 kids and his pet dog. So, California seems to be the place to go to investigate suspicious deaths of journalists and authors. After all, that's where Gary Webb, a few years back, he supposedly died as a result of 2 gunshot wounds. So, California, I guess, is the place for investigation. Yeah,
well, if I was going into Fallujah, I'd want to have Sergeant Biggs with me. He's a great guy, has a great distinguished record. He's really a war hero. The wars are corrupt. He knows that as well, but he still has a lot of courage and is a good guy. I'm going to send one of my best camera people. I'm trying to work on Obama deception, too. I don't even have the crew to really send 2 people, but I think Biggs needs the expert at clandestine stuff. Not that we're clandestine. They're going to have clandestine people out there. And you've got the big huevos there, the big brass huevos. I'm happy to go, too. I mean, actually, I'd fall asleep, on a space drop or something like that. Aliens, I do this stuff so much. But the whole point is that I want to send you, we're just brainstorming here on air, and I'm not sure which reporter yet. They all want to go. And so let's work all this out, because I'm brainstorming on air. Get with Madsen after the show. Tends to organize all this as the news director. And let's get Madsen flown out there. Let's get our base of operations. And then let's fly out Sunday or Monday. We'll decide later. Let's get Biggs out from Charlotte, North Carolina. Is it South Carolina? I forget. I have one of those moments. Too much going on. And we'll fly them all out and have a meet out there in Los Angeles for 2 days to go. Because I'm worried they'll put operatives on him just to rabbit trail him and push him off. We want to go through the real investigative journalists we know, the local TV station, the eyewitnesses we know by name who are ready to talk to us. So it's going to be a lot of work. Are you ready to bird dog this whole thing and help honcho this, Madsen?
Absolutely. I found out that you can't really get to the essence of a story unless you're actually physically there. You got to look at the scene of the crime, for one thing. Television can play tricks when you see things on television. So when you're there looking at it and you're talking to eyewitnesses, we had, several people in that neighborhood talking about how what they heard was like a bomb going off. These of course, are people that are very key to tell you exactly what happened. Just like Phil Marshall's neighbors were very helpful in determining that there was no way he shot his kids and himself. You know, you talk to the people that live there; they know best what has happened.
Yeah, well, I just want you there. I mean, Biggs can take care of himself. He's got courage and he's smart, but I want him to know what tricks to look for, because he's dealt with a whole different atmosphere being in, I don't know, 3 years in Iraq, 2 years in Afghanistan. But we'll get you out there by Monday then, and that's the plan. Okay, just briefly, this is just a quick pop-in today. What is your whole take on Homeland Security investigations as entering the quadrant of suspects? And what is your take then on the whole Trayvon Martin psyop we see going on?
Well, on this Homeland Security, you know, after 9/11, and I wrote about what happened at NSA, we had the buildup of the NSA Internal Security Group, Q Group, which is now like an intelligence agency within an intelligence agency. It was predicted that when Homeland Security was organized as a department, that this thing was going to become a huge monolithic organization, and it has not only combined previous law enforcement agencies, but as you have said, it's created some of its own Homeland Security internal investigations. This is just a monster that's feeding on itself. And until we get rid of Homeland Security and take it back to the status quo ante, we're going to see this type of thing continue with these out of control, unanswerable intelligence and law enforcement agencies.
Absolutely. Continuing, very exciting. We're going to have you reporting from the ground with us with Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs next week with one of our reporters, Wayne Madsen, working directly with InfoWars. That's why he was kind of out here. We're talking about having him work more with us because of the great work he does. In closing, in the 4 or 5 minutes we've got left before I go to break and come back with calls, and then Ted Nugent in the 4th hour of Overdrive. What is your take on the whole spectacle now of the media and the Justice Department trying to orchestrate, or again, honcho, to use that word, some type of summer of rage? And I guess it's working pretty good. We're not hearing about any of the scandals anymore.
Right. You know, and the worst network is MSNBC. You brought them up earlier. They have one person on there, Melissa Harris Perry, who actually did a video. She had an appearance on a recent program where she said, you know, Snowden should just come back and go to jail. Obama will take care of him in a federal prison. He won't have anything to worry about. Like, hey, what about his trial? She wants him in prison already. Yet she was basically goading people on about the whole Trayvon Martin situation. I mean, between her and people like Al Sharpton on MSNBC, these are trouble. Al Sharpton is a professional troublemaker. I remember back when what he did up in Queens and Brooklyn, urging people to attack Korean grocery store owners because he thought they were charging too much, when in fact they were the only ones who would go in and open stores in neighborhoods that were very dangerous. He has been basically a race baiter for decades, and now he has his own show on MSNBC. Remember, MSNBC, owned by Comcast and Microsoft. And Microsoft is key. So we had this person saying Snowden should be in prison in the United States, and Zimmerman should have gone to jail, and that the jurors should be ashamed of themselves. I think what's really dangerous here is we're seeing now this being shifted over to the jurors. That's jury selection. Most people don't want to be on juries for this very reason.
That's right. We're being taught that all of our institutions aren't good. The Justice Department, though, they're going to get that racist Zimmerman. I mean, I expect them to start saying black people are white when they kill black people just to make it racial.
Right. Zimmerman, you're right, too, that this should have been a local Central Florida story, at the very maximum a Central Florida story. But what the media does with these stories is that they make these local stories national stories, and we had all the Jesse Jacksons on, and just to stir people's feelings up, and this is not healthy for this country, as you say, when we have other major stories to cover. you know, we had, you know, here we have another OJ case, another Casey Anthony case. They always take these cases and make them national. This did not happen, by the way, in the news media back in the 60s and even the 70s. It was, you know, it was when we got the tabloid television, the 24-hour news channels.
Absolutely. In closing, the Zimmerman family suspects Obama is tapping their phones. I don't think there's any suspects about it. Wayne, what do you say briefly?
Why should they be different than the rest of us? Of course, the government's tapping all of our phones. We know that from the Snowden revelation.
They tap us, it's security. We tap them, it's espionage. But really, all it is a felony when they do it. Wayne Madsen, WayneMadsenReport.com. Thanks for popping in. And you're going to be part of our group of three, the Fellowship of the Three, going to L.A. All right, folks. Some stations carry it, but some don't. Everybody can find the audio and video links free and live at Infowars.com/show. In about T-minus 6 minutes, we'll kick off the 4th hour of Overdrive. I'll take a few calls, and then Ted Nugent is going to be joining us with his take on this whole situation. He says it's a triumph, and DrudgeReport.com is linked to it, that the Zimmerman verdict vindicates Citizen Patrol's self-defense. That's at rare.us. We've got the story up at Infowars.com. As well. So Ted Nugent is going to be joining us on that in this new call to collectively blame gun owners for what happened. Just like they tried to blame gun owners with Sandy Hook. That makes me really mad. Like, gun owners are racist and gun owners killed the kids at Sandy Hook. It's all your fault, gun owners. Before I go any further, remember, we're going to be premiering tomorrow night with the filmmakers here in town on InfoWars Nightly News, State of Mind, The Psychology of Control. And we started shipping the film yesterday to everyone on DVD and on Blu-ray. All orders now shipping from the InfoWars Command Center here in Austin, Texas. So if you haven't got your order in, it's a powerful film getting into the globalist manipulation of the psyche. It's great to wake up friends and family. And your purchase, believe me, I wish I could just have some great globalist benefactor that wanted to end the New World Order who would just give me money, and then I wouldn't even have ads. In fact, I've skipped 9 minutes of ads today that it might bankrupt the network. I've got to quit doing that, folks. And that's how horrible I am when it comes to not wanting to make money. I don't even care about the money. It's not bad to want money, but I needed to fund the operation. Buy the T-shirts, buy the books, buy the ProPure, 10% off promo code WATER. Purchase and shop with InfoWarsStore.com. By the way, I go out and do incredible research with my crew to find the best non-GMO heirloom seeds open pollinated. We go out and find the best water filters, the best cook stoves, the best survival materials, the best books, the best films, the best magazines, the best info. InfoWarsStore.com. High tech, 2 different shopping carts. Choose what you want. InfoWarsStore.com. And please support our local AM and FM affiliates by supporting their local sponsors or becoming a sponsor. Get in the game, folks. We're deep into this. We got a chance. They wouldn't be coming after people and reporters if we didn't have power. So I'm committed. I am fighting. But I need you to buy the war bonds, folks, to put us in the field. We're all in. We're into turbo acceleration against the enemy, spending more than we're bringing in, exhausting backup funds. I'm like, you know what? I don't even need backup funds anymore. Full power, yeah! Just we're going at them. We're going at them here. I swore to do it, and we're doing it. We're committed. We need you to commit behind us right now. We're constitutionalist. I simply look at things and think, what is justice? What is right? What is historical common sense? And I try to just tell the truth. I try to be a good person and try to be honorable and try to have courage and try to decipher the globalist propaganda and what they're doing. That's all I can do. And I need you to see yourselves as leaders. I mean, I wish we could get people to protest all over the country about no labeling on GMO. We've actually gotten that, but the media wouldn't cover it. I wish we could get people in every city mad. I don't call for violence, but when people are being violent to you, you can have self-defense. I mean, what if we saw people knocking out city windows over them fluoridating water, assaulting our families? What if we saw people like the French burning down GMO crops? I'm not saying do that because it can get out of hand and stuff. My point is, I mean, I'd be like, well, it's self-defense. But if some Hispanic/white guy in a questionable situation shoots a black guy, and then it becomes this big media thing to divide us, I mean, you don't just go out and kill white people. By the way, whites are going to get even more paranoid now, hearing that they're going to be killed, and you may get more innocent black people shot. I mean, have you thought about that? I mean, white people see all this anti-white racism, folks, and they get paranoid. They're not racist. They don't dislike you. They're scared. We'll be right back. Again, if you go to drugsreport.com, you can see a red link there. Zimmerman family suspects Obama is tapping their phones. That's very important. Ted Nugent's coming up. Right now, let's go to James in Mississippi. You're on the air. Thanks for holding, James.
Hey, Alex, how you doing today?
I'm telling you, I'm just sick and tired of everybody's ignorance, and I just want to try to empower humanity. And I'm watching the globalists play everybody like a fiddle, and it makes me sick.
Well, what's been making me real sick lately is I cannot stand turning on the TV and see the politics that are playing behind the whole Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman. You get Eric, the Attorney General, Eric Holder, gets out there and just completely politicizes every bit of it. If we can't, in classic fashion for Eric Holder, if we can't get him in this court, let's just move to another one.
Exactly, and it's bigger than Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. It's that we're being played. Yeah, they're using real people to create the fake debate, and yeah, there may have been injustice here, but the point is they are playing us. The Justice Department went and primed the pump on record and started the demonstrations. The Justice Department is usually trying to outlaw demonstrations. They want this to distract so they can play the part of the referee.
Absolutely, and let me tell you, the way this country is going, I'm from Mississippi, and I was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, and I am a white male, 22 years old, and I am the minority, and I have dealt with racism my whole life. Not reverse racism, racism. But
that's okay because you deserve it.
Oh, yeah, I do.
That'd be like if some black person's great-grandpa was a murderer, so you go to jail for it. I mean, just because white people have done some stuff that's wrong, I've not done anything, and I'm sick of hearing about it. But again, it's the globalists trying to change the subject.
Absolutely, but my biggest problem, maybe I'm not eating enough GMOs or drinking enough fluoride.
Well, this is how racism works. People are racist to you because of your race, whether you're black, white, whatever it is. And then you start becoming racist towards them and start judging everybody. It's kind of like if a pit bull bit you, you're going to start thinking all pit bulls are going to bite you, even though most pit bulls actually aren't mean. And so if there are racist whites, blacks start thinking all the whites are racist. If there are racist blacks, whites start thinking all the blacks are racist, while the media and the globalists sit there and play us all off against each other. What type of, I don't even want to go over it all. I know what you've gone through, I'm sure. I appreciate your call. Let's go to Anthony in Pennsylvania. You're on the air. Welcome.
Alex, thanks for having me. And, you know, it's Anthony Antonello, in case somebody at the NSA isn't paying attention at this very moment.
All right, well, tell us about We Are Change FBI intimidation. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so here's what happened. I'm sure you remember when I interviewed the police chief from Gilberton, Pennsylvania, who ordered his whole town to stand down if there was going to be a government instruction telling them that they were going to have to do something against the Second Amendment. That video went out all over the place. Well, this police chief, he now has you know, a little thing going on the internet, and on his show he said this, and somebody called me and I called and talked about it. What he said was he had 2 federal agents show up at his house to ask about me, and you know, he said, "Oh, I don't know who he is. He's some reporter, and you know, this and that." But I'm thinking this guy just did something extremely controversial, and the federal agents are showing up at his house to ask questions about the person that interviewed him. You know, and then he talked about Nancy Pelosi and a lot of the confrontations that.
Absolutely, there's an intimidation of the press if it's libertarian or patriotic or awake to the globalist. If you're in opposition to the global corporate criminal takeover, they come and harass you so you get scared and run off. The answer is intensify. The answer is don't give in to the bullying. And there's good people in the FBI as well. There's good people in all these agencies. We need to support the people that do the right thing, but just do a report on it. Talk about it. All right, we're coming back with Ted Nugent. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, he's with us till the bottom of the hour, and then he's gone. Back to sold-out shows across the country. on his Black Power tour, his ode to the masters of real rock and roll. And he is the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. We love him, a defender of the Second Amendment par excellence. Some think he may be the reincarnation of George Washington. He is Ted Nugent, out there helping radicalize the patriots to not bend over to the kleptocratic control freak collectivist. And all over the country now, I see the sides of businesses and barns and bumper stickers. I see him sometimes multiple times a day. It's some type of underground movement. He said he knows about it. The draft Uncle Ted, Ted Nugent for president. What is going on with that, Ted Nugent?
Greetings, Alex. A happy summertime barbecue season to you and all your listeners out there. Well, you know, just that there is a thought or a phrase that exists that's Ted Nugent for president proves how dire, how tragic, how idiotic the conditions are at the hands of an absolutely criminal, corrupt, America-hating government led by an America-hating president, a justice-hating attorney general, an absolute numbnut as vice president, and an America-hating Secretary of State, both Kerry and Hillary, you know, Benghazi Clinton. So I so reek of logic and common sense and so connect with the most productive, law-abiding, good, positive Americans out there that there are actually people that think the author of Wango Tango should be president. I don't know if we should hang our heads and weep or get out there and celebrate.
You're right, and of course the man that gave us Stranglehold and Stormtrooper and so much more. I saw on drudgereport.com today at rare.us, which is kind of a libertarian constitutional news site that I'm seeing more and more from, some great writers over there carrying your article from tednugent.com. Nugent, Zimmerman verdict vindicates citizens, patrols, self-defense. Uncle Ted, you've got the floor till the bottom of the hour. I want to hear what you have to say on this.
Well, it's very important to just articulate the Zimmerman-Martin tragedy in clear and unambiguous and documented evidentiary terms. I'm on the road right now with the greatest rhythm and blues band in the world, having the greatest time of my life with the greatest music and the greatest audiences. So, Alex, when I speak, much like when you speak, it's not an individual statement, but it really represents something that's common and sensible. So let me lay out for the uneducated and the ignorant, or maybe those genuflecting at the altar of denial out there, like the Black Panthers. Of course, my favorite Black Panther, Barack Obama, and probably the czar of the Black Panthers, Eric Holder, and the NAACP that sides with the Black Panther gang. I mean, Alex, can it get crazier than this? What is this, a Stephen King movie? It's just bizarre world. So, as I wrote in my articles, and I do appreciate you referencing rare.us, rare like in rare meat, and of course WND, worldnetdaily.com, and newsmax.com, I write a weekly feature in a lot of different conservative arenas. And what happened in Sanford, Florida is so obvious, it's insane, absolutely insane that it's become the focus of America, when a good citizen, George Zimmerman, cared about his neighborhood that had been inundated with crime and burglaries and dangerous conditions, that he conducted the most admirable function of an American, and he watched his neighborhood. It's called Neighborhood Watch. George Zimmerman saw someone after multiple crimes in the area. He called 911, proving he was not out to do anything wrong or cause any harm. He called the authorities and identified a suspicious character that the ABC and other networks absolutely criminally and dishonestly and unprofessionally manipulated the 911 tapes in order to fan the flames of racism that did not exist otherwise with Zimmerman. And he followed Trayvon Martin, and because Trayvon Martin, who I believe, what's the word I'm supposed to use here? So they say, is a dope smoker, allegedly a dope-smoking gangsta wannabe involved with illegal drugs and illegal illegal guns and illegal people. Trayvon Martin, emboldened by a Black Panther president and a Black Panther attorney general who refuses to prosecute his fellow Black Panthers in Philadelphia, on screen intimidating voters at a voting place, George Zimmerman is now being attacked by Trayvon Martin. Viciously, this little boy Trayvon, who is a 17-year-old perfectly fit athlete, has overwhelmed George Zimmerman, has broken his nose, has bloodied his face, has threatened his life, is now taking George Zimmerman's life and pounding it against the pavement. George Zimmerman did what God created us to do, what the Constitution guarantees we have the right to do, and what all human decency tells us to do. George Zimmerman drew his gun in a last desperate maneuver to save his life in a pure and cut-and-dry act of self-defense, and stopped the life threat against him by Trayvon Martin. The bullet found Trayvon's heart and did what all good people need to do, neutralize the life-threatening force. And then the circus began, because the great law enforcement professionals of Sanford, Florida, after studying all the evidence, ascertained conclusively that George Zimmerman defended his life against a life-threatening attack by Trayvon Martin, and no charges were filed, as they should not have been, until the race-baiting gangsters of Jesse Jackson, Al Not-So-Sharpton, the Black Gangster Panthers, and the Black Panther Attorney General, abusing his authority in the Department of Justice, came down to Sanford, Florida, and fanned the flames of racism and forced the wrong accusation of second-degree murder against George Zimmerman. And the jury came back, Alex Jones, and basically said, "Eat me, racist. It was self-defense. Case closed." And we could go on about the FBI ascertaining conclusively that there's not a racist bone in George Zimmerman's body or his family, and that even though the Martin family will be manipulated like the puppets I am so heartbroken to report, after they sucked blood from the community where it took place of over $1 million is what I have allegedly heard. And now they claim that they're going to sue George Zimmerman for a civil rights and accuse him and prosecute him for a civil rights violation. I'm telling you, one flew over the cuckoo's nest was not as crazy as this is. So I pray to God that Americans will make cash donations to the Zimmerman family and contact their elected officials and let them know that the jury in Sanford, Florida, came to the obvious and right and lawful conclusion that George Zimmerman acted in self-defense, and that parents should tell their children, if they don't want their children to end up like Trayvon Martin, don't smoke dope, don't want to be a gangster, and don't attack people. Case closed.
I want to look at what's happening in the aftermath of all this and why the Justice Department sent in agitators on record to start the protesting. They want a diversion from Benghazi Gate and IRS going after the Tea Party and pro-life groups.
Absolutely. Undeniably.
So, I mean, talk about that. Why would the White House want to go in and then take the case away from the police chief to where he even resigned over it? And then we've now learned the head of the IT department, the prosecutors, quits or was fired because he leaked that Trayvon Martin's cell phone had like guns and loot on it. All of that's going on. I mean, they were trying to railroad him. There was clearly reasonable doubt that he killed him in cold blood. There was a lot of evidence he was defending himself. As you've said, this is our justice system. I mean, this is amazing. So what do you make of why they've used this as a diversion, what the goal is, A, and then B, Walmart's being attacked, people being beat up, whites being shot. I'm getting death threats by the hundreds an hour, calls, emails. It is crazy of this summer of rage, and if the police don't do anything in places like L.A., this could turn into a new L.A. riot.
Well, Alex, you're absolutely correct. It's a classic case, and it'll go down in history as one of the most embarrassing examples of the tail wagging the dog in the power-abusing, criminal, corrupt American government. Epitomized by the Chicago gangster acorn scammer-in-chief and his Black Panther Attorney General. I mean, it pains me deeply. I'm sitting here in this beautiful San Diego with my son Rocco, and we just had a wonderful wedding with my daughter Chantel, with my kids and my grandkids, and my beautiful wife Shemaine is joining me on the road for the incredible gravity-defying career, and the positive energy is palpable and immeasurable. But it pains me tragically, Alex, as I know it does you, to have to admit that our government is out of control, that we're being run by power-abusing, America-hating presidents and vice presidents and attorney generals. The corruption and the abuse of power and the fraud is epitomized by this tail wagging the dog, and that there are black mobs across America that are guilty of the worst racism since the Klan would hang innocent blacks. And here's the real heartbreaker, that as I celebrate the Black Power Tour, paying tribute to my black heroes, the Bo Diddleys and the Chuck Berrys and the Howlin' Wolves and Muddy Waters and James Brown and Little Richard, that the number one cause of a black man dying in America is at the hands of another black man, that the worst racism against blacks is documented and undeniable by blacks, that the blacks have bought into this lie that somehow they're oppressed when the president is black, the attorney general is black, governors are black, senators are black, congressmen are black, mayors are black, Oprah Winfrey, the richest people in the world are black. It is a dirty lie. And if I may, Alex Jones on the Alex Jones radio show, if I could impress upon and inspire and beg everyone listening now, we have got to reach out to every black person we know and we encounter. We've got to pray for black America and beg our fellow Americans who are black to admit to this suicidal, self-inflicted curse that you've bought into the big lie of Jesse Jackson and Eric Holder and Al Sharpton, that you're not helpless. You're not a slave. You're not worthless. You're not inept. You can do anything you want to do if you just get out from the self-inflicted shackles that have been brought upon by the race baiters and the race industry, the racist industry that have convinced so many black Americans that you're inept, you're incapable of upgrade, you're incapable of independency, the food stamp scam, the welfare scam. Blacks can fix the black problem tonight if they just admit that they can do anything that I can do, anything that Alex Jones can do, anything that Thomas Sowell can do, anything that any American can do, if you put your heart and soul into being honest, law-abiding, delivering excellence at every move in your life. I would like to reach out to black America and tell them to absolutely reject the lie of Al Not-So-Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and the Black Panthers and Eric Holder and Barack Obama. They are enslaving you. And the real shackles on black America, 100% of the time, come from black America.
Let's talk about that briefly, because 94% of black deaths from murder in this country, according to the Justice Department, from 1976 to now, over 262,000 were blacks killing blacks. That is up to 20 times the number of statistical murders going on white or other numbers. And what's incredible is you learn that the Democratic Party, with welfare and breaking up the family and taking the father out of the home, the model they've done to the blacks is their admitted model for everybody, and that it's a culture of dependency. They want us all dependent on government, because then the government class is one, and they even brag about it. Ted, this is really a collectivist conspiracy. Can you speak to that?
Well, I've seen it my whole life. Let me frame it in the most obvious of eyewitness, boots on the ground, hands-on life of mine. I was born in 1948, and there were water fountains in Detroit that were for whites, and there were water fountains in Detroit that were for blacks. I admit that. I admit the tragedy of that. I admit the injustice of that. But do you know, Alex, by the 60s and 70s in Michigan, and in my travels across this nation, I travel in every major city in this country since the 1960s. I'm still on tour today. I will play, I don't know, almost 100 concerts again in 100 cities again this year. And Alex, certainly by 1980, I'm a pretty wide-ranging, radar, alive, gregarious guy. I've been clean and sober for 65 years. My radar is accurate, and it's very perceptive and receptive. Alex, racism against blacks was gone by the time I started touring the nation in the late 60s. It was gone. I have black musicians. I see blacks ascending to whatever heights and successes and powers they wanted. There was no oppression. They might have run into racism occasionally, like I did, because I had long hair, or maybe today the judgmentalism that exists out there because I got long hair and I play loud rock and roll, and because I'm an NRA board of director member. But what it does to interfere with my dreams? Nothing. You can't stop my dreams. And by the 70s and certainly by 1980, nothing existed. Nothing of consequence existed to deter or compromise a black American's dream. If they got an alarm clock, they set it, they took good care of themselves, they remained clean and sober, they spoke clearly, and they demanded excellence of themselves and provided excellence to their employers. And anybody, black, white, yellow, green, or red, if you provide excellence to your boss, you will end up being the boss.
Absolutely, I can tell you.
Know that. Write that down. And if you buy the lie of oppression, you have just bought the shackles of the race baiters in America.
Sure, because the government and the race baiters and the community organizers, they want to manage the only stunted opportunities in government jobs, government handouts, government systems, and it's literally a cult. The government and the liberal socialist special interests are not liberal. They're a bunch of social engineers who are the real racist. You know, Margaret Sanger said in the 1920s, the head of Planned Parenthood, she said, we've got to pose as liberals, get the black leadership, break up their families so we can abort these weeds. That's a quote, and it's worked like a charm. Black folks, the average liberal black person doesn't get mad about 50+% of blacks being aborted, Ted Nugent. They don't want to hear about that. They want to just get excited because Al Sharpton told them to, because Zimmerman is a white devil, when, by the way, Zimmerman doesn't, he looks more Hispanic to me than he does like a white devil, Ted Nugent. Closing points on that.
We appreciate you spotlighting the cockroaches. You're the master of spotlighting cockroaches, and thank you for allowing me to have time on your show. But I would welcome everyone listening to come to tednugent.com, and I write for rare.us, newsmax.com. I also write for WND, worldnetdaily.com, and initiate the dialogue with your friends and coworkers and people at church and school and at the workplace and at the family picnic over the weekend. We've got to take this country back, one good American after another, and reach out to black America and let them know that we have unlimited love for them if they would show unlimited love for themselves.
Look, MSNBC and the White House want to keep black people on their reservation, their plantation, so they can milk them and control them. And that's what's going on, and I call for the jailbreak for everybody against the collectivists. Ted Nugent, folks can find out about your sold-out tour in most areas. They can find out where they can still go at tednugent.com. Thank you so much for putting out your editorial. I think it's absolutely on target, and I look forward to having you on anytime you want a megaphone, sir. You know, we reached out to you, but anytime you want to blast something out there, I know you work hard to get the word out, just like Charlton Heston did, and so we appreciate you, sir.
Well, God bless you, Alex. God bless America. I'm doing a tribute tonight for the United States Marine Corps because freedom is not free. God bless the U.S. military and their families.
All right, thank you so much. There goes Ted Nugent. All right, folks, that's it for this transmission with Ted Nugent. The nightly news, 7 o'clock tonight, is big, and we premiere tomorrow night, State of Mind, The Psychology of Control on InfoWars Nightly News. The DVD is now shipping. Coming up, Sergeant Biggs, that when you investigate these people, you get raided. They come, they threaten you. They say, according to this reporter he's talking to, they told her, you're going to be 6 feet under if you don't stop investigating us. And they're the guys that have the black armored ICE vehicles when you see those in your town, the black tanks. They're the winners. They're the gods. They're the kings. They're the North Korean army, basically. They're the El Jefe. And there's lots of other groups, and there's CIA hit teams, and they've got hit teams inside the FBI counterterrorism wing, and that's really the group that carries out most of the terror attacks, or at least provocateurs them. And, you know, it's not fun to sit here and know all this and talk about all this. But I'm not going to sit here and just watch all this go on. I expect if they kill me or some group kills me, I expect you to not drop it. I expect people to cover it. Because let me tell you something, folks. They can't get us all. And by the way, people aren't just going to sit here forever and watch everybody get killed. So it's very important that it be on record who in the federal government are prime suspects in all of this. Prime suspects in tyranny. It's very important. And, of course, that's the way it worked in the Soviet Union, the way it worked in Nazi Germany, Maoist China. The internal federal groups that are over the feds, like the Q group in the NSA, the SS that goes out and persecutes and things, they've always got the former military, former contractor guys, the guys that pile out of these black tanks. And again, they're the tough guys. Why? They're allowed to do whatever they want. They have the NDAA that Obama signed, where he says, because he's emperor, he's Kim Jong-il, he's Kim Jong-un, he's Hitler, he's Stalin, he's Mao, he's Lenin, he's El Jefe, he's the King Rat. He said, I'll secretly arrest, secretly torture, and secretly kill anybody. And they're in the news saying Obama will sign death orders on any citizen he wants. And I guess we're all supposed to roll over like a dog that's scared and urinate all over ourselves. That's what a dog does. I guess as an American, I'm supposed to wrap myself in a flag, roll over whenever I see somebody in a black uniform, and just shake in a catatonic state and go, I'm so scared of you. I'm so scared. You got a black tank. Yeah. Oh, what am I going to do? You might kill me. I'm dead already if I give in to fear to all this, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not dead. I'm alive. I'm not dead. I'm alive. And I'll always be alive long after I'm dead because I've lived. And this time, and now is forever. I agree with the Zen spiritualist on that. And so I'm already outside your grasp, done. I'm a man, I'm a good person, I'm not in a gang, I'm not a parasite, I'm not Arrested Development. I come from a good family. You know, I've already said a lot of my piece on the latest developments with Michael Hastings. We'll cover that for about 10 minutes with Staff Sergeant Biggs in the next segment. Then I'm going to get into the fact that the hate crimes, they're all crimes are hateful if they're against someone's person physically. And it takes a hatred of your own humanity to preemptively attack somebody just out of viciousness. But there are Reports of kidnappings, beatings, shootings, murders pouring in right now. And the media is very politically correct. They're apologizing when they're reporting on it or outright not covering it. Jogger kidnapped and attacked over Zimmerman verdict. That's up on Infowars.com. It's only on local news. Brothers murdered over free Zimmerman sticker. Probably not too smart to have a sticker like that, but it's their First Amendment. Again, the extreme weighing in on it, certainly it's your First Amendment, but there are a lot of people that think that inherently being white is a reason to die. And the media basically plays along with that in their division. So brothers murdered over free Zimmerman sticker. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office accused of covering up hate crime. And this is the psyop to get us all fighting with each other. It's really energizing the white supremacist people, and then they're putting out all this vitriolic, insulting language and calls for violence, but don't generally actually carry it out. And then you've got Walmarts being ransacked and people being attacked for their race. It is just unbelievable to see all of this unfolding. Trayvon protesters, as it's called, it's protesting. I guess whoever killed these two brothers, it was a protest. I guess that's what you call that now. Trayvon protesters storm Walmart, assault bystanders. And I mean, if somebody tries to drag me out of my car, I'm going to start shooting people that are assaulting me. And I just don't, I guess it's all happening like California, Oakland, places where the average, trendy isn't armed or even won't even fight back with their fist. I mean, you can say what you want about conservatives. They've got their problems. But liberals, on average, will go into catatonic states if they're white liberals. I guess it means if you're a white liberal that you've been gelded. I mean, maybe they go through some type of surgery, and then they're selling T-shirts out in L.A. saying, wanted, dead or alive, George Zimmerman. If I sold T-shirts like that about somebody who'd been found not guilty of something, I mean, the cops would show up here. They'd say it's a terroristic threat. But again, when the Muslim Brotherhood murders and kills people, it's a protest. When Al-Qaeda, our government, puts in Libya or Syria, kills hundreds of thousands of people, upwards 40,000 of them black people, it's a love crime. When Obama drops bombs, it's love bombs, it's peace bombs, it's kinetic military actions. Kinetic military actions. It's now a violent nonviolent, as the White House Carney said. He is the White House carnival barker, so he is Mr. Carney. If the name fits, then carnival barker is a carnival barker by any other name. A rose is a rose by any other name, so why not have it be Carney if it is a Carney? A carnival barker lying fraud. And it's just getting crazier and crazier. And I said last week I believe Zimmerman would be acquitted because there was reasonable doubt. I think what he did was probably stupid to go out there, but you got all the witnesses, you got the reasonable doubt. That's why OJ got off, and I've said this 1,000 times, but people don't care. It's too much fun to have the media tell them when to get upset, when to go out mindlessly. I wish people would go out and protest with their white instigators, it seems to be in most cases, stirring everybody up for political power. I wonder if they would go out and protest because of GMOs being forced in the food, or kids being forced to take vaccines that are deadly, or deadly fluoride in the water. That's happening to all of us. We're all being attacked by this. We're all under the gun by this. White people don't get a memo not to drink fluoride. We don't get memos not to take the vaccines. We don't get memos. By the way, I was reading last night, it was in the Associated Press, I forgot to print it. Well, when you print this, Japan has now said don't take the Gardasil shot. They approved it a few years ago. We approved it 6 years ago. They approved it 2 years ago. They had so many deaths and problems. The Japanese government has put out a recommendation saying don't take this now. Japan said 15 years ago, don't give under 2-year-olds vaccines. It's brain damaging them. At least Japan cares a little bit about its people. Here, it's on purpose. Oh, but nobody's going to get mad. You go give your kid a shot, they have a convulsion, never talk again at age 2. Nobody goes out and riots. Nobody goes out and, does this. Nobody attacks Big Pharma. No, no, no. When the media says we all get at each other's throats. And the media then helps cover up when black folks are actually killing white devils. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. For those that just tuned in, there has been some breaking developments, and we are joined by Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, who served in the 82nd Airborne in Iraq and Afghanistan, and since 2008 has been friends with the now deceased, rest in peace, Michael Hastings. And he's the person, one of the people he contacted hours before his car blew up and the engine shot the opposite direction of the vehicle. He contacted him and said, I'm going off the radar, I'm going into hiding. The feds are visiting friends and family. The feds are probably going to raid my offices. Now, don't talk to them until you've got a lawyer. I'm going to break the biggest story ever, CIA, boom. I mean, that's right out of a movie. I'm going into hiding. I've got the big story. Boom. And then the witnesses say the car is driving down the street, blows up, and then comes to rest on a tree. I've sent reporters there. Gigi Urnetta and also Nomi Prinz went there, and the tree's barely damaged. I'm going to send reporters there next week, and a bunch of the crew wants to go. I may send one of our great cameramen, Josh, out there. I could probably send him maybe with Gigi as well. Send a whole team out there to talk to neighbors, witnesses. We're already in contact with these people. And to also draw attention to what's happening. Like there's video that Gigi shot just this weekend when she was in Los Angeles. We've already had our reporters out there. But we're going to do some in-depth investigations on this. And Staff Sergeant Biggs has talked to an investigative journalist, and I know who the investigative journalist is, who's still off record, who was already investigating this group and was threatened to her face. And I've had police officers on, like Don Browning, who had 2 different occasions of FBI coming in his office and saying, you and your wife are dead. You've heard him on this show. If you continue to investigate Oklahoma City, he was one of the first responders. Along with Terrence Yakey. They tortured Terrence Yakey, cop of the year, to death. So this is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. And the people that were running the Justice Department then are running it now. The people that ran Fast and Furious, a false flag on the Second Amendment, they're running this now. And so if I die or if Sergeant Biggs gets killed, we didn't commit suicide. If my car blows up, if they say I commit suicide, it is a lie. I love life so much, I'm willing for them to kill me to defeat tyranny. That's the opposite of being suicidal. That's loving life so much, I'm willing to put my life on the line for others. Not because I'm a hero, folks. I have an instinct for life. When everybody sells out, you get North Korea. When everybody stands up, you get moon bases. You get life extension. You get high technology. You get prosperity. Stand up, create a beautiful civilization of high art and culture. Lay down, sewage runs through the streets like most Mexico cities. I am not going to bow to tyranny. I'm not doing it. And there's no doubt they killed Michael Hastings. No doubt. No doubt. And I've talked to police detectives on and off record, a bunch of them. They go, obviously he was murdered. Obviously there's a cut over in the Carolinas. We're going to fly him out to California next week, and I'm going to fly one of my reporters out there with him to go around and talk to some of the eyewitnesses and who we're already in contact with, and to go and to speak to some of the other investigative journalists that have actually been threatened for investigating what's going on with Michael Hastings. So pray for us, ladies and gentlemen, because they killed him. We don't know if it was this group of Homeland Security people. We just are on their trail in the investigation. Just because a federal group investigated something, obviously someone who's getting ready to leak a bunch of criminal government activity, doesn't mean they're the ones that did it. But regardless if they are reportedly threatening other reporters that we're in contact with and that Staff Sergeant Biggs has spoken to at length, then this is definitely a hot potato. And all the rest of the media are just like, we're not going to look at what happened. We're not going to look at Breitbart. We're not going to look at Vince Foster. We're not going to look at Gary Webb. We're not going to look at the coroner that did the autopsy on Breitbart being poisoned to death by a well-known poison, arsenic. We're all just going to look the other way and basically let criminal forces do whatever they want. Well, I'm not going to go along with this, and it's not because I have courage. I have a compulsion, a good instinct, head screwed on straight compulsion that most Americans had in the past. That if somebody saw something wrong going on or something stunk, they would at least do some investigating. Because you understand that if they can murder Michael Hastings and then get away with it and not even have an investigation and clearly have a cover-up, then they can kill anybody in the press, and then we become Mexico. We become North Korea. We become Sudan. We become Romania. And we let criminal gangs and thugs rule. And that's why the criminal government wants our guns. While they are buying more guns and training for war with us and using our money to buy nuclear weapons and tanks and millions of bullets and doing all this because we've just turned the world over to the criminal control freaks that want to run things. And I certainly hope if they blow my car up, I certainly hope if they hang me, that everyone doesn't just sit there incredibly cowardly and just go, oh, no, nothing to see here. Let's all look the other way. That cowardly, pathetic, craven attitude is what has led us to this point as a society. And it's only going to get worse. Are there any men left? Yeah, there are men like Staff Sergeant Biggs. There's men like myself. There's men and women in my crew. They're all, yeah, we're ready to go out there. And it's not that dangerous to really go out to California and do the interviews itself. It's doing the investigation overall, and this platform they don't like. Because other than this broadcast, there's almost no one covering it. There are citizens out there putting wreaths and flags and notes saying they know they killed Mr. Hastings. And by the way, the engine shot the opposite direction out of the car. The witnesses said they saw it blow up in the middle of the street and then come to rest up against the tree. He said, they're coming after me. I'm going off the radar. I'm going into hiding. The feds are visiting friends and family. They're probably going to raid my news offices. This is the biggest story of my life. CIA. It'd be like if I got up on air and said, I'm going into hiding. They're after me. I've got to break this story for my safety. The feds are visiting everybody I basically know. You know, don't talk to them if they show up. I'll talk to you soon. And then, boom, your car blows up. I mean, that's not even 2 + 2 = 4. That's not even 1 + 1 = 2. That's just 1. Looking at the number 1, the numeral 1, and saying, what is that to a 3-year-old? And they go, it's a 1. It's like walking outside and going, there's the sun, there's a bird, there's a tree. They're coming after me. I'm going into hiding. Biggest story ever. Boom. Everybody loves cheesy Star Wars analogies. I'll give you one again. Maybe we can pull it up and play it. Where at the Hoth attack, the Imperial walkers have blown out the generator. The stormtroopers are going to the base, and you hear the guy going, Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. They'd be like, going, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. Stormtroopers didn't kill that radio operator. No, he just said Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. Pretty obvious what happened there. I mean, with Biggs, it's more obvious. With all the things that he's seen and all the things that he knows and the people he's now talking to, he's in the middle of it. But how obvious is it to us what happened to Michael Hastings? And some people will say, hey, man, we know they killed him. Let's move on. Folks, we all hang together or we hang separate. And this basic human instinct of standing up for people that gave their lives. I mean, a week before he's killed, he goes on the Young Turks and says, they're harassing the media. They're waging war on us. It's time to stop working with the national security system. It's destroying America. It's time to release national security data. And then this Homeland Security Investigations, a division of ICE, they're the ones over the drugs, supposedly stopping the drugs coming in. That means telling them which group to stop, which group to let in. They're over national security data, protecting that. They operate in 50-plus countries. This is the group. This is the Praetorian Guard. And he's talked to reporters. He's come. It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live, and it is Tuesday, the 16th day of July, 2013. I've wanted to get her on for a very long time. We're going to cover the waterfront with Mary Lou Henner, of course, movie star, TV star, first in Taxi, because I heard her on a Howard Stern interview a few years ago, listening on XM, where she has one of the most photographic memories ever recorded. And it is a genetic trait that's been documented. It's really superhuman. Highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. Then it has a longer name, a scientific name, hyperthysemia. Am I pronouncing that wrong? The point is that she's going to be coming on with us via video Skype in the second hour today for a little bit lighter topics, but it's still going to be very, very informative, very, very interesting lady. We'll talk about parenting, relationships. We'll ask about her incredible memory and talk about what it's like having that. Because I have a really good memory, but I mean, not 1/10 what this lady has. And she's now doing a radio show here on the GCN radio network as well, the same network that syndicates my broadcast, and her health journey for her and her husband. If she looks so young, I saw her on TV a few months ago, and it's just unbelievable. So that she's going to be joining us, Mary Lou Henner. I've wanted to get her on since I heard that Howard Stern interview a few years ago, and so it's going to happen here today. John Bound had the idea to get Ted Nugent on today because he's got an article saying Nugent, Zimmerman verdict vindicates citizen, patrols self-defense. So I texted Ted right before the show to see if he wanted to come on. And so we are trying to schedule him right now. He may be on in the third hour, or he may be on tomorrow or the next day after that. So that's happening. Might have Ted Nugent to get his take on everything coming up here today. That said, I am really disgusted by the whole Trayvon Martin situation because I'm sad this young man's dead. Anybody who's a parent sees those parents up there and grieving, and you have empathy. And I'm disgusted by people celebrating his death, because I have been seeing some of that. And I'm disgusted by people acting just the same back in racial hatred, saying that they're going to go out and kill white people. And it's now starting where whites are being beat up all over the country. I mean, I've got a stack of news. From Florida to Michigan, from New York to California, from New Jersey to Washington State, there are racial attacks happening on whites and Hispanics. I mean, can you imagine? Let's say if a black person killed my wife, and even if they did it for racial reasons, just would I randomly go find a black person and beat them up or shoot them? And it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I couldn't imagine storming a Walmart and beating and roughing up white people in there. Just because they're white, like they're walking around going, yeah, I'm glad Trayvon Martin's dead. And then I see the other side of it, the white supremacist people. They're all over every website out there. And I went and looked it up. Some of the big white supremacist sites are organizing this trolling. But then we've also looked at some of the groups doing it. It's also other people stirring stuff up that are playing the part of multiple posters, probably even government, really trying to create division. This is a psyop any way you slice it, and we're going to be going over all of that. Meanwhile, Russian bombers are basically buzzing Japan. U.S. troops are massing all over the Middle East. Just incredible stuff's going on, and we're all busy at each other's throats. It's why the globalists are in control, folks. They know how to divide and conquer, and I'm so sick of watching everybody being suckered. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, broadcasting worldwide on this Tuesday, the 16th day of July, 2013, worldwide broadcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs is going to be joining us. I talked to him quite a bit yesterday, and he's talked to some investigative journalists and some other sources. And obviously he's also talking to the family. And the investigative journalists have told him that indeed the police were at his house that day. That's the dead reporter, the associate editor, investigative journalist Michael Hastings. And that one of the groups that was reportedly questioning some of the friends and family was a special division of Homeland Security called Homeland Security Investigations. I am going to fly one of my reporters or camera people, whoever wants to go, a lot of them want to go, with Sergeant Biggs. He's in Charlotte. How day one they said no foul play within hours. I mean, right there, you know the fix is in, folks, when they say no foul play instantly. The coroner of Breitbart, ladies and gentlemen, was poisoned to death. That's on record. And they're not investigating that. They say, yeah, he was poisoned to death, probably murder. We're not investigating. Because who do you think's doing the killing? Now going to Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs to talk about some of this specifically. He's got a list of things to go over. We appreciate his time. Obviously today, sir, we're going to be getting on the phone with you. We're working it out right now. When we're going to meet you out in L.A., when is best. But that'll all be done off air after the show today. But we're doing it. We're launching this operation to find the truth. And, of course, the whole world's a stage. Each of us players opponents. We need to create a name of the operation. We need to get attention. That's really why overall 50-50. 50% get attention. The other 50s do research and investigate. But you've heard what I've had to say here introducing you. What are the points that need to be made and the new developments and the group that you are investigating that may be involved at the heart of this?
Yeah, I was contacted twice over the past week and a half by a reporter, and she was currently working on a story looking into what is called the Homeland Security Investigations Department. It's a group of people that consists of about 6,300 special agents that cover 43 cities, or 23 cities and 43 different countries outside of the U.S. They have free reign of power all over the U.S. and those 43 countries, full immunity. They can do whatever they want. They have higher authority over any other department there is. Well, she was investigating them, and she had been warned from time to time, she said, and then it got to a point where she came home and her daughter was home alone, and these guys are going through her house, going through her computers, her personal things, her files, trying to see what she was doing, and she was told if she didn't stop, she'd be killed. So she finally let the story go. Well, Michael Hastings' death happened, and she started looking into that. And come full circle, now she's running into the same names of the people she was investigating a while back with the Homeland Security Investigations Department. So I find that pretty interesting that this small tactical unit that works with drug cartels and terrorism, things like that, are having a part of his death.
Well, when I looked at the group, I was already aware of them, but they are the Praetorian Guard. They are the small nexus group over the money laundering, the drug dealing, all of it. And those are always the key groups that are telling the lower feds what they can and can't investigate. And they also say their main mission is controlling sensitive national security info. And by the way, I want to get Wayne Madsen on about this. I want to get his take on this right now. Let's see if he can pop in towards the end of the next hour on this. It's so important because he's the guy that exposed the Q group 5 years ago. And since then, it's been confirmed that it is the Q group in NSA that goes around black bagging people in the government. But this is the essence of a tyranny. And again, I don't want to say that we know that this is the group, but they certainly fit the type of MO of the types of organizations that I've seen. Like take the FBI, the anti-terrorism unit of the FBI. That's the group that pops up, killing cops that are exposing stuff, killing journalists, bombing buildings to blame it on political enemies. So yes, it's generally the highest level, most classified groups within domestic operations that are generally over pulling triggers, or they authorize and oversee private contractor hit teams.
Yeah, well, I just got an email, too. I have all the names and the original witnesses from the accident that say they heard an explosion. Now, the funny thing is everything we need to know is in that 911 or those multiple 911 calls from these people. That's all being hidden from us. And, you know, they're saying that they hear explosions. Well, when an explosion like that happens, who do they call? Who should be there? ATF. So why wasn't ATF, or why are they not saying that they were involved if there was an explosion, you know, so to say?
And again, they're covering up the police report and have told the fire department and police, that's on record. Local TV stations have reported that. You need to hook up next week. We need to brainstorm on this with the reporter out of San Diego that had the courage to cover it. We're already in contact with the family. The wife of the guy where the who's got the water hose on it, she thinks it was a bomb. I think she's on the show tonight, the nightly news, and we're getting a whole list. And so here we go. And again, I'm just glad that my reporters have the courage to go out there. My listeners know that I don't usually go on the road a lot because I have to keep all this running here. But I'm glad that my reporters want to go with you. I'm glad you're going, and I appreciate your courage. But again, I don't think there's really any danger while you're out there. It's if you get any big info, that's when you guys have to watch out. But you can instantly video feed that. I recommend we'll have some instant video feeds out there and other things in case anybody tries anything. But I think what makes us safer is actually exposing this. I think we're all in danger, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, if we don't expose this. What's your take on that?
Well, of course. I already have the name of the special agent in charge of the ICE unit that oversees the Homeland Security Investigations Department in L.A. I have that reporter out of San Diego's name and number, and she's possibly going to meet up with me during our time there. So we're going to be able to press some issues and open some eyes for sure. Well, you're a good friend to Mike. What do you think Mike would think if he was seeing all this right now? Well, hopefully he wouldn't be judging me too much on the fact that I'm not that good at what I'm doing, but at least I'm trying to put an effort and learn how to do this as I go, but I'm sure he'd be happy. I mean... Sure, but I mean, what would he do if another investigator